Good afternoon. I am calling us into a work session of the Portland City Council. It is 2:32 on Thursday, May 15th. Councilors, this is our work session on the Public Works Service area for our budget work. And before we start, I know there have been a number of questions over the last few days about the various pathways for bringing amendments forward as we move toward next week at an increasing speed. So I just wanted to run through those various paths quickly. The first is that if you are planning to announce an amendment in a work session, which is a good way to let your colleagues know what is coming, and to make sure that we know what you are interested in doing so that the Finance Committee can consider whether it should be part of a broader amendment package. Today is our final work session before then to put those things on the record. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. is the deadline if you would like CBO to review your amendment to ensure that your language is technically accurate. There are ways to bring amendments even after that, but to guarantee that CBO will have time to review your amendment, you need to send it to Director Levine and to Owen Sites by 5 p.m. tomorrow. They will work over the weekend to confirm the language and share back with you by Monday. If you would like your amendment to be pre-filed, meaning it will be posted on the clerk's website before we are all together on the 21st, you need to send it to Director Ruth Levine and to Haley Blonsey by 9 a.m. next Monday, the 19th. They'll put together a list of amendments that will be pre-filed so that folks watching at home can see the language, and so that when you introduce your amendment, you can introduce it by your name and the amendment number. So for example, if I had 5 amendments, Pyrtle Guinea 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, rather than having to read the entire thing into the record. And then your third path is to bring something on the dais on the 21st while we are in session, which I would just remind you will probably lead to one of your colleagues asking you to reduce it to writing. So please be ready to actually submit that in written form if you bring it on the dais on the 21st. Hopefully that's clear as mud for everybody. So couple paths there. I think that is my only preamble here. So there are a couple of questions. Councilor Canal, is that a question about what I just said, or are you already so excited that you're in the queue?
I am excited, but it is a question about what you just said.
Go right ahead.
So just first a clarifying question. So I'm going to just assume, but am I correct in assuming that if you were to give your amendment to CBO by 5 p.m. on Friday, that would also check the box of sending it to CBO by 9 a.m. Monday, or is that a separate?
As long as you let them know that you are okay with them publicizing it, yes. If you tell them that you want it to be confidential, then they will not publish it with the pre-filed amendments.
Okay.
But if you send it and you don't tell them to keep it confidential, then yes, you would have already checked that box.
And then I wanted to just get a little bit more information regarding the Finance Committee aspect of this on Monday. And I got a little bit of clarity, and I'm a little less uncomfortable than I was at first. I'm trying to understand how things will get into the Finance Committee's output versus not, absent deliberation. We had a reference to a couple counselors being on Zoom, and so they weren't able to have their nodding visible in that scenario. And I'm just trying to understand that aspect of it without deliberation in that committee and without 7 of us there, how that's going to play out.
So in order to hopefully have things move at a reasonable enough pace that we can get through everything on the 21st, I had hoped to bring an amendment that had pieces that seemed like they had support from a wide variety of counselors. And I didn't think it was appropriate to pull that just out of my own head.
Yes.
So I've asked finance to have a conversation about what that group, which I think is relatively nothing is ever as representative of council as a whole, but has a good broad spectrum of folks from council on it to provide some thoughts on what they think might have broad support from across council. So that'll be a conversation that the Finance Committee has on Monday.
So just clarifying, Finance Committee is not utilizing their own preference between the 5 of them, but rather making their best guess of the preferences of the 12 members of council.
I would ask the chair to weigh in there, since I am not the one who runs that committee, but that has been my request, is that we try to think about what would have broad support from across council based on what we've seen here, what we know of our colleagues, and what we see submitted. Because my assumption is that there will be some topics, we heard some yesterday, that multiple people are thinking about submitting.
I would love to hear that if Chair Zimmerman has a
You want to weigh in at all?
Yeah, I think, thanks. It is, I think the finance opportunity offers the ability for some discussion around all the amendments that have been made up to that point. And given the nature of how these conversations need to happen in some sort of public format, and there's always a negotiation. I think most likely to come out of the finances that the president gets an idea for what could potentially be, my words here, but like a president's package that maybe has a number of the amendments in them, maybe at different sizes, but the whole goal here would be to get as many amendments that make sense and have support and be balanced. Because one of the risks, I think, for the 21st is that we must approve a balanced budget on the 21st. And in all other governments where I've done this, right, we've had some level of negotiation between all the variety of amendments that get made throughout the process. So this is trying to be some sort of way to have a little bit of that conversation given the new rules and the new structure. So I don't know what to anticipate in terms of a product out of finance, but what I hope is that it is a way for us to take a look at things that are complementary, things that are maybe speaking past each other in the way that their amendments work. And we've already had some of those which are not intentional. It's just the nature of this process. So I would anticipate that at least the president, at the minimum, maybe others come up with an idea that, okay, I think this encompasses a package of amendments that are, I'm going to use the word palatable, for broad support as a mechanism to get past the 21st hurdle. It's not perfect. It's not exactly clear because it's not, nothing holds any of us to it. We all have the ability to say, I appreciate that you put my amendment in that package, but within it are things I can't get down with. Or my program, I asked for it to be $1 million. It's really not effective at 750,000. So you might as well have just zeroed it out. Those are all like reasonable statements. And so I can anticipate that there'll be some amendments that will continue to still need individual votes on the 21st, or at least considerations. But I think the president set what I would consider a good goal, which is if we have some amendments that we can quote unquote get off the table because we can get the balance there on the 21st and get them built into the proposed budget, we should tackle as many of them as we can, because we'll still have until the 11th and through until the 18th of adoption for those types of changes, which I do anticipate amendments to come in the second half of this process. So that was, again, clear as mud, but it's the nature of a government's first time going through a new system and using some of our experiences in other governments as a way to capture the imbalance that we're in now. If all the amendments that have been proposed, we've got to find a way to balance. That's the ending goal ultimately. And I think that counselors should be making the cases to their colleagues and whatnot. That's part of the, here's why I care about this item. That's a great conversation for people to be having with their fellow colleagues. And so I'll just leave it there.
Counselor, I think I hear in part of your concern wanting to make sure that finance committee members don't have two bites at the apple. And what I can share with you toward that end is that I am bringing a budget note forward that I specifically think might be more controversial and will not include in any sort of package like that for that reason, right? I don't see this as an opportunity for me or anybody else to have two bites at the apple. I see this as a place where we pull together things that would have broad support, might not have the same level of controversy as some of the other things that will be brought.
Thank you for both for clarifying that. That is helpful. I'm interested in observing this process as we look into future years and making sure that we're not just doing the things that we think might have 11 votes if 7 is all that's required. But I can't predict that that wouldn't happen or that it would without seeing it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilor Murillo.
I just had a quick logistics question as well about how the document is getting edited, the one where the tracker where staff are taking notes on the things that we're saying verbally. I will say right now, I think in my absence and having been sick earlier in the week, I'm probably going to quickly read through my list of amendments today before the end of the day to make sure it gets through. But I know some folks, it seems like, did their due diligence as far as having those submitted in written form earlier, which I think is actually easier for more people to follow than it is to be saying things verbally, and then they were removed from the tracker. So who is removing, who is adding things to the tracker, and like what are the rules around that?
I'm going to respond if you don't mind, President.
Go right ahead, Counselor.
So, Counselor, we have two different trackers that are existing, right? One is being tracked by the budget office, and that tracker is designed for each of you to be able to have conversations and numbers with them that are private to you in your office. And it allows you to get input before it's live, so to speak, to the rest of us. The other tracker is that I asked one of our council ops staff, the one who staffs finance, to keep a tracker for the amendments that are read in the room. And because my instructions were not clear, some things that had been emailed out got included into that. And I asked him only include the ones that are read in. And so that's where this point of friction that you're identifying is occurring. So I think your tactic today of reading things in, if you've got them, is the right move. The other thing, and I said it to the group yesterday as we were breaking, but I don't think everybody heard, is there were a number of amendments that got read yesterday, and your best practice, I think right now, would be double check with the council ops staff that it was captured the right way in the moment, so that tracker has captured the essence of the amendments that you've read in. And I'll put it this way, the budget staff keeps a very complicated list. So I'll just give an example. I'm going to make some corrections today to one of my amendments because we can say something like, amend this program. But the way that our bureaus have structured a number of programs, they've got several versions or several means in which they fund themselves.
Right.
General fund, PSEF, levy, et cetera. That doesn't come off the tongue very easily. And so the budget office is keeping the NATS detail, whereas Christopher is keeping the overarching Zimmerman Amendment 1 for this amount to this place, right? That kind of the general idea. So it was designed to be a workable one, so we can just talk about big topics, whereas budget keeps some real detailed ones. When we get into the final document on the 21st, those detailed ones that the council president was just talking about, those are what will be filled out and read.
Okay, I appreciate that explanation. So we should make sure we get any like specific language to Christopher by end of day tomorrow specifically for the finance committee, and then also to Ruth. Okay, great. Thank you.
And we are cross-checking those now and making sure, okay, what was read, what was not, what's being worked on privately, what's not, those types of things.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Counselor Ryan.
In summary, everything is due tomorrow at 5 o'clock in writing, and those are the official amendments.
If you would like CBO,
Why is that a no when all I keep hearing
Well,
is
let her answer.
if you would like CBO to review your amendment to make sure that your language is technically accurate,
Right.
which I would highly recommend you do.
same?
It is due by 5 p.m. tomorrow to Ruth and Owen.
Okay. Everything
It
that
is-
we're orally, verbally saying this week in various committee meetings is a rough draft of what's going on in terms of these amendments.
It is a rough draft, but it is also what will allow your colleagues to know what's coming and allow finance to do their work if you have kept your proposals otherwise private.
Got it.
And for folks who are not going to be ready by 5 o'clock on Friday, you can still bring things to the dais on Wednesday. It just may not have the CBO review, and we can't guarantee that it will be workable. We'll have to have that conversation on the dais. Councillor Canal.
Little clarification. If it's emailed to CBO by tomorrow at 5, will finance be able to consider it on Monday?
Yes, we're working this weekend.
Copy.
That's all.
The reason I shook my head, Councillor Ryan, is that nothing will prevent a councillor from reading a perfectly legitimate amendment into the record on the 21st and having it be considered. I didn't want the Friday to be considered a gatekeep and it not be an eligible amendment if it comes in on the 21st. But to the president's point, it will not have been quote unquote scored or detail oriented. That's the reason I shook my head initially.
Okay, councilors, we have a large presentation today. I am sure a lot of discussion, and I am guessing there will be a lot of folks wanting to spend some time reading amendments into the record as well. So I am going to turn it over to DCA Donna Paul to kick us off and introduce your team.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon, councillors. I'm Priya Dhanapal. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Deputy City Administrator for Public Works. It's an honor to be here on behalf of Public Works, and I'm very excited to be sharing our important work with all of you. Next slide, please. I'm proud to be joined today by the directors of each bureau within the current Public Works Service area: Transportation, Water, and Environmental Services, as well as Parks and Recreation, which will soon join Public Works beginning July 1. We also have subject matter experts and operational leaders from across our teams in the audience as well. Together, Public Works bureaus manage more than 90% of the city's built assets, over half the city's total budget, and a third of the city's workforce. Next slide, please. Here's what we'll cover today. I'll start with a brief overview of the Public Works Service area, how it's structured, what's changing, and how we are aligning funding strategy across our bureaus. And then you'll hear from each bureau director on their budget priorities, operational needs, and how they're delivering critical services to Portlanders. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. Next slide, please. This is our current service area organizational chart. In our first year as a service area, we have made measurable progress towards becoming a more aligned, strategic, coordinated team. A major milestone has been the alignment of the Portland Water Bureau and Bureau of Environmental Services through the One Water initiative, which is already helping us think and plan across systems, allowing us to look at the full water cycle holistically rather than in silos. We've also strengthened cross-bureau coordination with the addition of a shared capital improvement program manager, and their role is helping us better align major infrastructure investments across the service area, identifying opportunities to coordinate work, reduce costs, and minimize disruptions to the community. Next slide, please. Beginning July 1, we are excited to soon welcome Portland Parks and Recreation and Vibrant Community Support Services into the Public Works Service area. This will help bring natural systems and build systems into even closer partnership, especially on projects that touch right-of-way, stormwater, and recreational assets. We will also formalize the alignment of the Water Bureau and Environmental Services under a unified Portland Utility Director, creating a strong foundation for One Water implementation and joint service planning. We're looking forward to deepening collaboration and continuing to evolve as one integrated, forward-looking public works service area serving one city. Next slide, please. I'm honored to lead and work alongside the dedicated teams who serve the city 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, often behind the scenes, but always essential. Public Works is Portland's civic circulatory systems. It's the water we drink, the streets we travel, the stormwater systems and sewers that protect our health, and the parks that restore us. They aren't just infrastructure assets, they are commitments and promises. Promises of equity, public health, and a resilient Portland that serves everyone now and for generations to come. Next slide, please. Our vision this year is to deliver as a one public work system for one Portland. While our bureaus have distinct roles, our services are deeply interdependent. Portlanders don't experience government in silos. They experience safe streets, clean water, and healthy parks to work together seamlessly. We share customers, responsibilities, and outcomes, especially when it comes to public health, community safety, and environmental resilience. That's why coordinated capital planning and emergency response are essential to how we operate. We are committed to gaining efficiencies through the integration of shared services, reducing duplication, and aligning strategy across bureaus. We're also laser focused on maintaining and modernizing our infrastructure, from roads, sidewalks, to sewer and storm systems, drinking water, parks, and community centers. At the same time, we must prepare our infrastructure for challenges ahead, like seismic risks, extreme weather, and climate change. And financially, we are navigating a constrained landscape, and we are focused on financial resiliency, addressing budget constraints, managing rising infrastructure costs, and identifying new revenue opportunities to balance affordability with the need for investment in critical services. And at the core of all of this is equity. Every investment must be guided by a shared equity lens, ensuring historically underserved communities benefit from the infrastructure improvements we deliver. Together, this is how we invest not just in infrastructure, but in people, in place, and in Portland's future. Next slide, please. Our budget decisions are shaped by 4 key factors. First, we must manage the real risk associated with aging infrastructure and potential regulatory liabilities. Delayed maintenance can lead to failures that are not only expensive, but dangerous. Second, we are obligated to meet our existing financial commitments, repaying debt, settling legal liabilities, and upholding bondholder trust. Third, compliance is non-negotiable. We must meet federal and state regulatory requirements, particularly in water, wastewater, and and stormwater services. And finally, we are deeply aware of the importance of rate affordability for Portlanders. Striking the balance between long-term investment and short-term impact on households is a responsibility we take seriously. Our park systems also brings a valuable lens to this discussion, reminding us that infrastructure isn't just pipes and pavement. It also includes green assets like parks and open spaces, trees and natural areas that provide climate resilience and improve livability for every Portlander. Next slide, please. In a constrained budget environment, we have to make difficult choices that balance urgent community needs with long-term financial responsibility. The mayor's proposed budget prioritizes revenue-generating functions that sustain critical infrastructure while also advancing projects that directly improve community health, safety, and livability. We know we can't meet every community priority this budget cycle, but every decision was made with care and an intention focused on protecting our core services and outcomes that Portlanders rely on every day. Excuse me. What remains constant is a North Star, which is ensuring equitable service delivery for both current and future generations of Portlanders. And this focus on equity guides every decision we make, reinforcing a mission to build a resilient and inclusive city. Next slide, please. And with that, I'd like to introduce Millicent Williams, Director of the Portland Bureau of Transportation, who will talk about PBOT's proposed budget and its impacts.
Thank you, Deputy City Administrator Donna Paul. Good afternoon, councilors. As has been mentioned, my name is Millicent Williams, and I serve as the Director of the Portland Bureau of Transportation. Before discussing the specifics, and we can go to the next slide, of what's included in the Mayor's proposed budget, I'd like to provide a high-level overview of the scale of the Bureau's budget and how it's spent. The Bureau of Transportation's overall budget for fiscal year 25-26 is $626 million, which is slightly lower than the current year's revised budget of $634 million. Of the $626 million, $256 million is expended on capital projects, close to $20 million is spent on the repayment of debt, $20 million is transferred to other areas of the city, mostly to the general fund for citywide services, $100 million is held in reserves for future expenditures, mostly capital, and the remaining $230 million is spent on operations and maintenance activities. The additional positions between the revised budget and the proposed budget is due mostly to the conversion of some limited term positions to regular FTEs and the addition of 10 new inspectors for the utility inspection and ADA curb ramp inspection programs. We'll dive a little deeper on the revenue sources and expenditure line items on the next slide. So if we could advance to the next slide, please. This chart, which many of you have seen before, provides a high-level breakout of our total budget, both revenues and expenses. Starting in the upper left, general transportation revenues, or GTR, includes state highway funds, so gas taxes and DMV fees, parking-related revenues, meters, permits, and citations, interest earnings, and the mayor's proposed increases in transportation network company fees. These are our most discretionary revenues, but also have limitations in how they can be spent. The bottom left provides details on our restricted resources, which represents a majority of our budget. We categorize them as restricted because they can only be spent on the programs that they were either awarded for, such as federal grants, or for which we charge a specific fee, such as permit fees, to make cuts in or excavate the street. Other significant sources include the Portland Clean Energy Funds, a majority of which is spent on the replacement of streetcars, Fixing Our Streets funding, which is restricted for uses outlined in the ballot language, work for other jurisdictions, mostly BES, system development charges, which can only be spent on expanding the system, and parking garage revenues, an independent business entity. The upper right displays the corresponding expenses supported by GTR revenues. It's important to note that even though these resources are our most discretionary source of funding, we have significant required expenditures or revenue-generating programs that are supported with these limited resources. We call them required expenses because we do not have the ability to reduce these expenses in order to fund other high-priority needs. Payments for citywide services, such as general fund overhead, are determined by a citywide allocation model. Debt repayment includes costs for the Selwood Bridge, Portland-Milwaukee Light Rail, and pension payments. Reductions to parking enforcement staff would only lead to less revenue collected. The remaining flexible expenditures, totaling $90.5 million, include the funding left for core transportation services, including paving, street cleaning, signals and street light maintenance, transportation planning, and support services. When we talk about reductions to GTR, those reductions will come from these flexible GTR expenditures. In the lower right, we highlight the expenditures supported by restricted resources. As you can see, most of these expenses are included in our capital program, both for current year expenditures and future year expenditures, shown as reserves. Here, you will also see expenditures related to permit issuance, work on behalf of BES, and the restricted resources contribution towards support services and payments for citywide services. It's important to note that these restricted expenses also provide services that are viewed by the public as core to PBOT responsibilities. We just do not have the flexibility to move these resources to other programs if the need arises. Next slide, please. Now that you have a greater understanding of our overall budget, I'd like to take a moment to walk you through how we balanced our general transportation revenue forecast. First, let's discuss the budget changes leading to the original $38 million shortfall we discussed at the start of the year. The majority of the $38 million forecast shortfall was due to new expenditures expected to start in either fiscal year 25-26 or beyond. These included citywide interagency costs, the Creek settlement costs, which was 50% of the expected shortfall, the impact reduction program, Portland permitting and development subsidies, and increased personnel costs due to earlier union negotiations. We also updated our revenue forecast to match the State Highway Fund forecast updated last fall, and updated our parking forecast to assume no growth in parking demand. The city administrator's budget updated our forecast assumptions and included new potential resources, thereby updating our reduction target to $17.8 million. The city administrator's budget included removing forecast assumptions for higher city administrative costs and out years of the forecast, a reduction in the subsidy for Portland permitting and development, a transfer of positions into the DCA's office to support service area-wide operations, and assumed approval of bond financing for the ADA curb ramp settlement, again, Creek. The mayor's proposed budget included these assumptions and added increased support for derelict RV and abandoned auto removal, graffiti abatement, and pothole repair. These new investments and the remaining funding shortfall were covered through increases in parking meter fees and hours, increases in Transportation Network Company or TNC fees, and assumed revenues from the pending state transportation funding package. These items will be discussed in more detail in the following slides. Next slide, please. The proposed budget includes 4 proposals to balance the 5-year forecast, one of which was already approved by Council on May 7th. This proposal captures savings in the ADA curb ramp program by financing the construction of 1,500 ramps per year over a 15-year repayment schedule. Next slide, please. The three balancing proposals that still require further action include the increases in parking rates, transportation network company fees, and the passage of a transportation revenue package at the state level. Parking meter rates were heard by council at the May 8th hearing, but are not scheduled for a vote until May 21st. These proposed changes contribute $6.8 million in additional revenue collected through the following actions. Increase in hourly parking meter rates by 25% in each district, generating approximately $5.5 million per year. An increase in hourly event parking meter rates, generating approximately $350,000 per year. And these rates would be in Providence Park Event District, in the Lloyd Event District, and the Restricted Event District in Northwest. The proposal also assumes the extension of parking meter district evening hours from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., generating approximately $1 million per year. The TNC fee proposal raises $5 million by increasing the ride fee for trips starting in Portland from 65 cents per ride to $1.30 per ride. This proposal requires council action to amend the current fee schedule. The Finance Committee is scheduled to review this proposal at the May 19th committee meeting. The State Highway Fund proposal of $11 million assumes passage of a transportation bill at the state legislature that would support cities across Oregon, including Portland. These revenues come from state gas taxes, heavy vehicle use taxes, and DMV fees. The proposal requires approval from the state legislature. If any of these proposals are not realized, the Bureau would need further direction from Council to either reduce services or find alternative revenues to balance its general transportation revenue forecast. Next slide, please. The proposed budget doubles the investment in towing and demolition services for the next year. These additional resources will allow the Bureau to demolish more RVs, thereby creating space at the current storage facility. With this new space and additional funding for towing, more RVs will be removed from the city's right-of-way. The proposed budget also doubles the investment in the current abandoned auto program. The additional staffing will allow for more tagging, warning, and towing of abandoned vehicles in the right-of-way. Next slide, please. The current graffiti abatement program can only respond to requests from the community within 7 to 14 days, whereas City Code requires a response in 10 days. The new funding included in the proposed budget will allow response times to decrease to 1 to 5 days and create the opportunity for proactive, self-directed response efforts. Pre-event scheduled cleaning, enhanced service and business districts, pre-parade routes cleaning, response to PMO requests, and cleaning of key corridors and business districts. Next slide, please. The proposed budget doubles the investment in pothole repair for the next year. These additional resources will allow the Bureau to fill an additional 1,500 potholes per year. Next slide, please. And finally, the Mayor's proposed budget adds $3.1 million of ongoing interagency revenues from the Bureau of Environmental Services and 9 new permanent positions for residential street sweeping. Funding street sweeping in areas that drain to surface water or groundwater supports water quality permit compliance. Analysis has determined that 12% of citywide arterials collectors and 26% of residential streets are in areas that drain to surface water or groundwater. Using these allocations, the Bureau of Environmental Services believes that $3.1 million can be transferred to PBOT for sweeping of these areas. During the first year of the program, PBOT will expand the LEAF program, hire and train new staff, acquire additional sweepers, which requires about a 1-year delivery timeframe, and phase in the installation of parking signage citywide to notify residents of sweeping periods, thereby clearing the curb for a more complete cleaning. Limited street sweeping in residential areas would be completed in the first year. Next slide, and this is my last one. PBOT was set to receive about $11.5 million, although the general transportation revenue forecast was balanced and includes additional support for livability programs, PBOT still saw reductions in other funding sources which required programmatic cuts. PBOT was set to receive about $11.5 million of general fund resources in fiscal year 25-26, of which $10.1 million was dedicated to the ADA curb ramp program. The remaining $1.4 million of ongoing resources is dedicated to programs such as paving gravel streets or the Out of the Mud program, sustainability efforts, street cleaning, Sunday parkways, and reimbursing the Bureau for lost parking revenues due to the creation of Director Park. These programs, not including the funding for ADA ramps, all received an 8% reduction as part of the balancing efforts required of the general fund. About 1/3 of the $10.1 million contribution for ADA curb ramps was reallocated to fund debt service for the bond financing proposal approved by council just last week. The remaining funds were reallocated to balance the general fund shortfall. Reductions in cannabis tax revenues include $400,000 from the current year and another $277,664 for fiscal year 25-26. This leaves just under $1 million budgeted for next fiscal year for Vision Zero programming. The impacts of the lost revenues include a reduction in vision clearance for priority locations and pedestrian intervals at intersections adjacent to schools, reductions in improvements along the high crash network, such as turn calming, rumble strips, and raised pavement markings, and the elimination of safety-related outreach materials and engagement with community-based organizations. Finally, the Bureau of Environmental Services notified PBOT of a request for a reduction in service starting next fiscal year to help balance their own financial shortfalls. PBOT provides the maintenance services for sewer and stormwater infrastructure. These services will be reduced by $3.5 million, including the elimination of 24 positions. Further review will take place next fiscal year to ensure that these reductions are not hindering BES's ability to meet its permit requirement. And with that, I will turn it back over to DCA Donna Paul.
Thank you, Director Williams. We began this budget process facing $38 million in GTR shortfall for PBOT, and thanks to the leadership and support of Mayor, this council, and pending action from our state partners, we have built a proposal that closes that gap without service reductions, and for that, we are deeply grateful. That said, our current forecast is balanced but fragile. Service levels are still falling short of the community expectations. Decades of underinvestment have created a maintenance backlog that cannot be solved through short-term balancing alone. This budget prioritizes core services and makes targeted investments in safety and livability. But to maintain these gains and to avoid future reductions, we will need continued collaboration to build a more sustainable funding model. Nearly $11 million in this year's balancing plan is outside of city's control. If the state legislature does not act, we will need to revisit reductions or explore new local options. And over time, it's clear, continued reliance on gas tax and parking revenue is no longer viable. Portlanders are changing how they move, and our funding model must evolve with them. We look forward to continuing this conversation with the mayor and all of you on how to stabilize PBOT for the long term so we can deliver the safe, connected, and climate-ready transportation system that Portlanders deserve. Thank you. And with that, we can move on to Portland Parks and Recreation, if that's okay with council. Okay. And now I would like to
Have you go through the full presentation and then we'll do questions.
Right, great, thank you. I'd like to introduce Portland Parks and Recreation Director Adina Long, who will talk about parks' proposed budgets and its impact.
Thank you, DCA Donna Paul. We appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the Public Works Service Area Budget Work Session, and we look forward to formally joining Public Works in July and exploring new opportunities to align priorities and operations. Good afternoon, Madam President and City Council. For the record, I am Adina Long, Director of Portland Parks and Recreation. Thank you for having us here today. As you are well aware, it's been a daunting budget season so far. We greatly appreciate the support we've received from you and from the community for our programs and services. Okay, let's get started. Next slide. This is an overview of all resources and requirements. Because we budget in 9 separate funds, there is a complex interplay between them that can make this confusing. While the next slide will give a much clearer picture, a key takeaway here is that while our overall budget is $483 million, a lot of that is in fund balance and committed to our capital plan. It is spent down over several years as projects are delivered. Another thing to note is that interbureau transfers, reimbursements from the parks levy to the general fund for eligible expenditures, make up another big piece of this. One last key takeaway is our staffing. The increase you see here in the fiscal year 25-26 base budget from the current year is related to PSEF-funded positions being added. The reduction from that base is the impact of the reductions we'll discuss in a moment. I'd like to note that in addition to full-time staff, seasonal casual staff are critical to delivering our services. These are the lifeguards at summer pools, seasonal maintenance workers, and park rangers in our parks. Seasonal staffing hours translate into over 400 full-time equivalents for parks. Next slide, please. Here, we've tried to break down revenues and expenses into more granular level and show what resources pay for what. The top portion is our general fund. This is where we budget our most flexible resources, and it is where most of our day-to-day operations are budgeted. As you can see on the left, the two biggest resources in this fund in the mayor's proposed budget are general fund discretionary and parks levy. The parks levy is actually its own fund, and that fund reimburses the general fund for eligible activities using a funding model that leverages general fund discretionary and other resources, so it shows in the general fund as reimbursement. Additional revenues include space rentals and leases, services provided to other bureaus, new funding from Multnomah County for Preschool for All. We also charge parking fees at several locations, and there are other miscellaneous revenue sources that make up a small part of our general fund. The resources that I just mentioned fund the operating expenses at the top of the right, on the right. The next section shows our capital fund. Next year, we anticipate significantly reduced system development charge revenue. In addition, we get a little less than $5 million annually for capital major maintenance as a transfer from the general fund. Everything else in that fund is allocated to projects and capital programs that will spend down this year and in future years. Then we get into other, more restricted funds. For the sake of time, I won't go into detail about all of them, but I do want to highlight the Portland Clean Energy Fund, which in fiscal year 25-26 includes funding for starting up the street tree maintenance function, tree planting, and other work, as well as about $7 million of urban forestry functions that were previously funded by the general fund. Outside of urban forestry, PSEF funds about $2.3 million in other costs for energy efficiency projects. Next slide. As we headed into this budget cycle, we knew we had a gap to close. The biggest drivers are summarized here. On the revenue side, for this current fiscal year, we were asked to cut $3.8 million in general fund. Because that direction came in December 2023, only 1 month before submitting our budget last year, the decision was made to take time to figure out how to address those reductions and absorb them with parks levy balance that had built up over the first 3 years of the parks levy. At that time, we also received an updated forecast from the city economist that indicated that parks levy revenue was expected to decline by about $6 million ongoing. And finally, Portland Parks and Recreation received an additional general fund cut of $6.8 million in the guidance for the fiscal year 25-26 budget. On the expense side, we've seen internal services double in the last 5 years. While some of this increase is related to increased staffing associated with the parks levy, large portions have been driven by external factors seen across many other bureaus. We have increased staffing over the last several years with the parks levy, but at the same time, we also saw an acceleration in the cost per hour worked, which was driven by PERS increases, health benefit increases, 2 COLAs that hit the 5% cap, and new labor agreements that resulted in increased steps and premiums for many classifications. And finally, the last driver on the cost side is operations and maintenance of new assets. The figure shown here is the increased cost looking forward over the forecast for bringing on new assets. The more discretionary parking revenues, we also earn revenues at Washington Park, but per multi-party agreement, those revenues are dedicated to transportation and infrastructure improvements at the park. Next slide. All of those factors drove our financial plan and the direction to begin closing the gap that was opening as a result. In the general fund, we spend all our earned revenue first, then general fund discretionary, and then general discretionary. This makes the parks levy the last dollar in. Consequently, we use the parks levy outlook as a primary tool for communicating opportunities and challenges to come. Here you see revenues as the orange bars extending above the zero line and expenses as the blue bars extending below. The light blue line is the net. So wherever that net is above the zero line, we are building a balance, the green line. And wherever it is below the line, we are drawing balance. You can see a substantial draw this year in 2025 as we absorb last year's general fund cuts and deal with rapid cost increases I mentioned on the last slide. You can see that with the proposed budget, we maintain a positive balance at the end of next fiscal year, but with a projected deficit that would drive the fund negative if all things continue the same into future years. To shift the blue line up and stop the green line from going down, we'll need to identify additional revenue or reduce additional expenses. Next slide, please. Tying back to that first section of sources and uses, here are the uses of general fund resources. Most of our gap closing was through reductions to service, though 13.6 million you see in the second column. However, some gap closing was done through increased revenue. Because our program planning, hiring, and registration happens well before the summer, it was important to ensure programming stability for the summer of 2025. Therefore, a number of reductions are funded on a one-time basis through September 2025. Now we'll take a look at the categories more closely. Please note our slides do not include line by line every decision package listed in the mayor's proposed budget. With 80 packages, it would take us far more time than we've been allocated today. Instead, we grouped together the main decision packages and tried to focus on impacts so you can understand what's being cut and how that affects our programs and services. In addition, throughout this presentation, you'll see programs or services that are funded through summer of 2025, but cut as of September 1, indicated with an asterisk. Next slide. While most of this presentation is focused on the mayor's proposed budget and how it affects our base budget, this slide shows the crosswalk between the administrator's budget and the mayor's proposed budget. As you can see, the mayor preserved several recreation programs that were reduced in the administrator's budget. These add-backs total 4.8 million. There were also several reductions that were included as part of the proposed. They total 3.4 million and offset some of the add-backs. The remainder of the add-backs are offset by net new resources totaling 1.5 million, but note that a big component of the add-backs are funded with one-time balance. Next slide. Let's start with recreation services, which includes the facilities that support recreation, as well as public recreation and arts and culture programs. The overall budget of 52.5 million for recreation services is reduced by 429,000 on an ongoing basis. That is the net change and includes reductions as well as new resources, particularly for Preschool for All. A total of 1.3 million is funded on a one-time basis to continue programming through summer 2025. There are no net changes to staffing, with a total of 22.14 FTE budgeted in the proposed. You can see from this slide that all community centers, art focus centers, and pools remain open. In addition, the Sun Community School programs and citywide sports programs are funded. Summer free-for-all events are fully funded for summer 2025 due to the summer restoration package. Next slide, please. The mayor's proposed budget eliminates the Teen Collaborative Initiative Grant Program. Starting in September, summer camp programs will be eliminated. Recreation services reductions include reduced hours at regional community centers, indoor pools, and the Portland Tennis Center, decreasing summer free-for-all events by more than half in summer 2026, and these reductions, again, begin September 1. Our preschool program will be aligned with Multnomah County Preschool for All, and we're restructuring an interagency agreement with the Portland Water Bureau for care and maintenance of decorative fountains citywide. In addition, we're increasing some fees for programs in community centers, outdoor pools, and other recreation activities. We're aiming for a 10% fee increase where possible within market constraints. But our access discount program will ensure that we meet the levy commitment for access and equity. Next slide. The group caring for assets and facilities, the Assets and Development Division, is reduced by 2.3 million from 21.3 million to 19 million in our main operating fund. Across all funds, that reduces staffing from 129 to 120.5 FTE. The mayor's proposed budget has preserved asset management and long-term planning, the capital improvement program, and repair and maintenance of assets will continue with less resources and staffing to meet community needs. The proposed budget eliminates the professional repair and maintenance weekend crew, maintenance trainee programs, a heavy equipment operator, an office support specialist, and all non-professional repair and maintenance staff training. Next slide, please. The mayor's proposed budget reduces the items you see here, including some professional repair and maintenance services like safety training, supplies, and internal capacity for program assessments and studies that support park plans and trail and acquisition work. This budget restructures or realigns. A carpenter who works on ADA issues and overhead for capital projects will be slightly increased. Next slide. Taking care of our parks, open spaces, and natural areas is a core function of Portland Parks and Recreation. We will continue to do this work, but less resources and less staffing means we will be unable to meet community need standards. In the mayor's budget, funding for the land stewardship team is reduced by $4.6 million on an ongoing basis, with summer programming bought back on a one-time basis for $861,000. This takes the team from $46.3 million and 206 FTE to $42.6 million and 188 FTE. The mayor's proposed budget eliminates the utility worker crew and swing shift crew, reducing evening and weekend coverage. An arborist position and nature-based summer day camps and environmental education programs will be eliminated effective September 1. Next slide, please. You can also see this list of additional reductions, including reduced EMS budgets for all maintenance zones and the trails team, which impacts our ability to complete critical improvement projects within parks and trails, administrative and other personnel, and in September, all restroom cleaning, trash removal, and litter pickup in parks will be reduced by 1 day per week. There are additional reductions that impact sports fields as well. Next slide. Tree management and care represents $9.4 million of our main operating fund budget. This is after much of that operation was shifted to PSEF in the current fiscal year. Between those funds and other resources, they pay for 145 FTE. The mayor's proposed budget reduces the general fund amount by $1.7 million ongoing, with about $78,000 bought back for summer 2025 programming, bringing the total general fund budget to $7.8 million and total FTE across all funds to 144. Mayor Wilson's proposed budget preserves funding for urban forest management and planning, tree maintenance and planting, 24/7 emergency service for fallen trees and public rights-of-way, and Title 11 regulations. As of September 1st, a 2/3 reduction in capacity to manage outreach, volunteer, and community education program, and there will be reductions to staff trainings and supplies. This budget calls for using urban forestry fund for nuisance abatement, tree care, preservation, planting, and emergency response capacity, which will deplete the urban forestry fund. The proposed budget also calls for additional revenues and funding shifts. Next slide, please. Park rangers and our safety team is reduced in the proposed budget by $500,000 and 4 FTE from $6.7 million to nearly $6.4 million. The mayor's budget proposes maintaining 29 FTEs and providing up to 15 seasonals in the summer. Supervisory coverage is also maintained across all shifts. The budget proposes eliminating ranger dispatch, a coordinator, and a vacant office support specialist position. Finally, the park ranger program received about $755,000 in ARPA funds over the last 3 years to increase summer seasonal patrols at hotspot parks and to support ranger operations. The ending of this investment will be most felt as a reduction of our seasonal hiring from prior years. Next slide. On this slide, we're showing central functions, which is largely vibrant community support services and enterprise changes together. Central functions and charges that are paid centrally, like a bureau-wide charges for the city's financial software, other BTS functions, the risk pool, et cetera, are reduced by $4.2 million from $45.2 million to $41 million, with a total reduction of 14 FTE. The mayor's proposed budget preserves capacity in the director's office and support services, although we've taken significant reductions that you can see on this slide, including 13 staff positions from our support services team. And like recreation services, the budget calls for increased reservation and payments fees. That concludes our discussion of the mayor's proposed budget and what it means for Portland Parks and Recreation. We hope the summaries that we've provided today help you understand what's been included and what impact it has on programs and services. And I will turn the presentation back to DCA Donna Paul.
Thank you, Director Long, for your presentation. I want to underscore a few key takeaways for Portland Parks and Recreation. First, Portlanders deeply value the parks and recreation system, and you hear it and we hear it across the community. Parks are essential to our city's livability, health, and identity, and Portland is nationally recognized for that. We appreciate the mayor's efforts to preserve critical services like Sun Schools, citywide sports, and a neighborhood community center. That said, PPNR is facing an unprecedented $13.6 million in reduction. These cuts will impact programs, jobs, especially youth jobs, and the overall condition of our parks and natural areas. While summer 2025 programming is protected, future summers could see major losses, fewer concerts and movies, no summer camps, and reduced maintenance. Looking ahead, the parks levy expires after the fiscal year 2025-2026, and council's decision on referral timing and rate will be critical. It could shape not only long-term sustainability, but service levels as early as next year. We look forward to partnering with you to ensure Portlanders continue to have access to a safe, welcoming, and vibrant park system that they can count on. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ting Lu, Interim Director of Bureau of Environmental Services.
Thank you, DC Donna Paul. Good afternoon, Council President and Councilors. My name is Ting Lu. I'm the Interim Director for BES. Next slide, please. Before we dive into the budget information, I would like to share with you our high-level services challenges and our key priorities. Like DCA Donna Paul said earlier, that both BES and water are heavily regulated and required to meet federal and state regulations. With that, our operations and maintenance of all infrastructure assets is a key part of our day-to-day priority. From a capital investment side, it's driven by multiple factors, including complying with existing and future federal and state regulations, addressing aging asset and reduce system failure risk. And sometimes the system also needs to be expanded to accommodate the city growth. On top of that, we are also trying to address climate and seismic risk and provide equitable service delivery throughout the city. All this operational and capital delivery are enabled by the core administrative support. At the same time, maintaining high-quality customer service and affordability program remains our key priority and service. Next slide. Onto our budget. The Bureau manages multiple funds to ensure proper financial accounting and maintain compliance with the various legal obligations. First, let's review the resources. You will see that our primary revenue source is utility rates, which are budgeted at the $430.6 million. Other revenues serve an important, though relatively smaller, source of revenue for the Bureau. The most notable revenue sources in this bucket include revenue from Portland Clean Energy Fund, system development charges, and other interest incomes. The transfer budget is primarily the result of complying with the local budget law. Only $3 million, or less than 1%, represent incoming revenue to the Bureau. Beginning balance and bond proceeds represent money in the bank from the prior year, including our rate stabilization fund. Now we'll review the requirements. The proposed budget is $1.43 billion, which is slightly lower than the prior 2 years due to a decrease in CIP program as we are ramping up the secondary treatment expansion program, also known as STEP. Capital investment continues to be a large component of our budget, which include debt service, paying off previously financial capital expenditures, and also the capital improvement program. Additional ongoing major capital investment include Carolina trunk replacement, the Inverness Forest May rehabilitation project, and more investment in the Columbia Boulevard wastewater treatment plant, which is the largest in Oregon. The operating personnel and the materials and services budget totaling $261.2 million, with about 40% in personnel and the remaining for materials and services. Similar to resources, only $16.6 million of transfers in the current budget represent new non-pass-through costs to the Bureau. Contingency represent Bureau's reserve funds. This include monies in our rate stabilization fund, required debt reserves, and saving for future known obligations. For our FTE count has decreased slightly over the past several years, which is a net shifting resources within the Bureau to support our priority portfolios, including O&M needs, and also support city initiatives. Next slide. This graphic identifies where the money comes from and what it provides. First, on the revenue side, as I shared earlier, our largest revenue is through utility rates, which represent about 87% of the current year's revenue in the budget. Our non-rate revenues are diverse. However, some revenue sources, like Portland Clean Energy Fund and Portland Harbor citywide obligations, are restricted to specific uses. The fund management category for both resources and expenditures are represented broadly to comply with the local budget law and only reflects the inter-fund transfer between funds. Now turning to the expenditures. While the overall budget may appear substantial, the portion available for discretionary adjustment is quite limited, which is within personnel services, external materials and services, such as the chemicals and the materials for pipe replacement. And these adjustment areas are represented in the orange categories. However, it's important to note that these categories also include non-discretionary costs. In total, only about 11% of our budget is considered discretionary and subject to adjustment, meaning that even a minor change in this portion can significantly affect our overall financial position and meeting permit compliance. Our capital project category is also showing in orange, as we are continue to use a risk-based approach based on asset risk, consequence of failure, as well as a permit requirement. Next slide. This slide shows how BES is balancing the various budget changes from the previous slide. If I can draw your attention to the first box on the left, which shows how BES balances the city administrator's budget. BES began this budget cycle by identifying $1.5 million in critical operating needs. This include utility cost increases, aging equipment replacement, and essential materials to maintain operations. To that, we added $700K increase to general fund overhead, $3.5 million for city government reform, and rising internal services cost, $3 million to increase to the cooperative work agreement with PBOT for sewer and stormwater maintenance, and $1.1 million from the previous mayor's budget guidance, and this has been restored on the mayor's proposed. To balance these additions, I'm very proud that BES team took a very holistic and a collaborative approach. We identified 80+ line items totaling $3.5 million in operating reductions with minimum service impact. This include contracted services, reduced loan to the urban flood safety water quality district, other reductions, reduced part-time seasonal workers, and also reduce security expenditures while leveraging central security services total together. The information listed in the mayor's budget represent the new budget additions and reductions on top of this city administrator's budget. In addition, we reduced our $12 million environmental remediation set aside by $1 million to offset these additions, cut $2 million from a capital policy implementation funds, deferred $20 million capital project over 5 years, saving $1.3 million in debt service, and reduced our contingency to close the remaining gap. Now let's turn to the mayor's proposed budget changes shown on the right. The Bureau saw the increase totaling $6.8 million to support street sweeping, revised purse amounts, and an increase to the general fund overhead. The Bureau proposed to balance the increase by $200,000 savings from having one utility director position. Further reduction of the environmental remediation set aside by additional $2 million. Reducing capital policy implementation funds by additional $1.1 million. Reducing central city interagency costs and future efficiency savings by a combined $1.4 million. And then restoring the initial 5% reduction, which will add back about $1.1 million of revenues. Finally, the remaining amount is a balance by contingency, which is too close the gap. I would like to note that some of these reduction measures, such as environmental remediation set aside, defer CIP, and utilizing contingency, could introduce long-term financial planning complexities that will require the Bureau to navigate and higher utility rates down the road. With that, I'll turn over to Director Light.
Thank you, Director Liu. Good afternoon, Council President and Councilors. My name is Quisha Light, and I am the Interim Director of the Portland Water Bureau. While the numbers you see here may look large, nearly all our budget is committed to bond payments, regulations, and critical system operations. For example, $86 million in debt service and $700 million in capital investments are already locked in. Major projects like the Bull Run Filtration Project are federally mandated to ensure safe drinking water. We also maintain a $130 million rate stabilization account that's there to protect affordability and avoid sudden spikes in rates. We've also been reducing our staffing. We have 8 fewer positions than last year, with 32 more expected to be eliminated, including 18 permanent roles. Despite these constraints, we continue to prioritize and focus on our core work, the delivery of clean water, maintenance of the system, and compliance with regulatory obligations. Next slide. This slide breaks down our sources of funding and where it goes. Nearly 90% of our revenue, just like with BES, comes from utility rates, which include both direct sales and wholesale contracts. These revenues support day-to-day operations and system upkeep. Non-rate revenue, like the $3.8 million in PSEP funding, is also critical. It's helping fund our leak repair program, energy efficiency upgrades across our operations, and our microhydro generation projects. The funding is distributed annually across operating and capital expenses and aims to improve environmental outcomes while enhancing affordability and resilience for Portland residents. The only flexible parts of our budget are operations and maintenance and capital projects, but even those are largely locked in. For example, the federally required filtration project alone represents 86% of the CIP in the next fiscal year. Other revenues include interest earnings, fees, and charges related to new development and payments received for support we provide to other city bureaus. Next slide. To meet the city's balanced budget requirement, we had to make some hard choices. The city administrator's budget increased city service costs and reduced rate revenue, so we eliminated 18 vacant positions. While we avoided layoffs, some essential work like long-range planning, system maintenance, work to protect the water system from cybersecurity will be delayed, as well as having impact to our ability to be responsive to customers. We also increased funding to parks to maintain our decorative fountains and offset this with a reduction in our facilities maintenance budget. In the mayor's budget, our 8.1% rate forecast was restored, but labor and pension costs increased. We balanced those with $1.9 million in annual savings from no longer covering credit and debit card convenience fees. We also are seeing enterprise efficiency savings proposed by the mayor and savings from having one utility director. These changes allow us to preserve the basics of safe water, system maintenance, and customer service despite the financial constraints. Next slide. Together, BES and water manage over $46 billion in utility infrastructure, and our combined 5-year CIP totals $2.8 billion. Much of our critical infrastructure is over 100 years old. For BES, about $1 billion of work is planned across 3 portfolios: treatment and resource recovery, collection system pumping, sanitary and combined systems. These investments ensure regulatory compliance and reduce the risk of service disruptions and environmental harm. Water's priorities include the Bull Run Filtration Project, pipeline and seismic upgrades, and transformational projects like the $50 million AMI project, because that's all I know it is, the Advanced Metering Infrastructure Project. These investments are not just about today, they are how we protect Portland's future. And now I'll turn it back to Director Liu, who will walk you through the broader context of rising utility costs and the impact of rate changes on our ability to deliver services.
Thank you, Director Light. This slide shows some benchmarking across the country. Standard inflation metrics are important indicators for how costs are changing broadly across the nation, but they tend to underestimate the unique environment that utilities operate within the water sector. From Government Financial Officer Association webinar, the top orange line shown here is focused on utility rates. The cost of doing business nationally for water and wastewater utilities are rising at a significant higher rate than general inflation since the pandemic. So you can say basically doubles every year. So we can anticipate even more increased costs with the tariff increasing and likely further impacting supply availability. This puts added pressure on our bureaus to keep delivering the same level of service while our expenses continue to surpass revenues. Next slide. It is important to note changes to forecasted rates have only minimum impact on customer bills, but have major impacts to utility revenues and budgets. The previous mayor's budget guidance to reduce the rate of increase by 5% will likely go unnoticed by most customers, but it will have a material negative impact on the utility's ability to manage system risk, including current and future operational and regulatory requirement. Especially, this guidance would have resulted in the average customer seeing a less than 50-cent reduction to their monthly bill. However, the utilities have needed to reduce our budget expenditures by a little more than $1 million to offset this reduced revenue. At every step of the way, we try to strike the balance between minimizing impact to our customers and the need to maintain, invest in, and improve our water systems. Next slide. This slide shows the impact of a budget guidance to reduce next year's forecasted rate increase for water from 8.1% to 7.7%, and for BES from 1.15% to 4.89%. The average customer bill impact is about 50 cents a month. This is from the previous slides, but we'll experience a $1 million reduction in revenues. To look into the combined bill, each Portland utility customer receives the combined bill that includes water, stormwater, and sewer charges. Each bureau charges its own rate, and the Water Bureau serves as a billing agent for both bureaus. These utility bills provide the revenue that each utility uses to pay for nearly all of our services. As our costs rises due to inflation, system expansion, and the cost to complying with new and existing regulatory requirement, our billing revenues must also increase. Water, sewer, and stormwater rates are based on the cost of serving each customer. We increase rates only as much as needed to cover our current and future obligations. Both environmental services and water create long-term financial plans with the intention of smoothing out the customer impact of these increases. As you heard earlier, we want our rate increase to be modest and predictable, but still sufficient to meet our financial obligations. In previous years, City Council has sometimes decided to implement rate increases that are lower than the Bureau's projected need. This leaves us without the revenue needed to maintain the level of service our community expects and increase the risk of system failures, with the potential negative impacts to public health and environmental quality. Reduced rate increase also create future financial liabilities in the form of lower liquidity levels. This can lead to lowered credit ratings and also an increased cost of borrowing for the bureaus and the city. By maintaining good bond ratings, our bureaus are able to access the credit markets at the lowest possible interest rates. This produces substantial savings over time for ratepayers. We'll be updating this rate profile in the coming months, likely upward to incorporate economic cost pressure driven by significant inflation and tariffs, ongoing citywide cost increases, and ending additional non-rate revenue such as changes to SDCs, fees, and charges. With that, I'll turn it back to Director Light.
So as you all know, reductions have consequences. With most of our budgets fixed, reductions land squarely on our services: pipe repairs, customer support, and system maintenance. Deferred work doesn't disappear. It gets more expensive. Today, Portland's utility infrastructure maintenance backlog is estimated at $6.8 billion, with $6.7 billion in BES alone. Let's be clear. Every cut chips away at the basics: our ability to respond quickly, prevent system failures, and keep the public safe. This is why consistent investment matters. Without it, we risk more system failures that don't just come with noise and disruption, they come with public safety risk and a higher price tag for the next generation. Next slide. But here's the other side of the story that we love to share. When we choose to invest, not just in pipes, but in people, we build resilience, restore trust, and create stability. These are the kinds of investments that reflect our values and ensure Portlanders can count on us. Access to water is a basic need. And next year, our $39 million in affordability programs ensures we don't lose sight of that, even in tight times. These programs serve low-income seniors, families, and affordable housing providers. Some programs cut bills by up to 75%. Others offer payment plans, crisis vouchers, and stormwater management and water conservation support. This isn't just about budget math, it's about the kind of city we want to be. Every investment in access and equity is an investment in Portland's long-term strength, stability, and shared future. And with that, I'll turn it back over to DCA Donna Paul.
Thank you, Director Light. We've covered a lot of ground today across both the Water Bureau and BES, and I want to leave you with 4 key takeaways. First, infrastructure investments are non-negotiable. They ensure compliance with federal mandates, prevent catastrophic failure, and uphold public health. And second, delaying maintenance increases long-term costs. $1 million cut today may save 48 cents per month for the average customer, but it increases long-term risk and expense. Third, our affordability programs are working. We are actively supporting those most in need through income-qualified discounts, crisis assistance, ramp for multifamily housing, loans, and SDC waivers to spur development. And finally, every dollar has a story. Each dollar supports a real outcome: clean water from a kitchen tap, a sewer system that doesn't back up during storms, or a discount that helps a family avoid shutoff. These aren't abstract numbers. They are services Portlanders rely on every day. Next slide, please. Thanks to our bureau directors for walking through the mayor's proposed budget. I want to close with a few reflections about why this work and this budget matters. Next slide. A recent report from a city auditor highlighted what many of us already know. Years of underinvestment have created a growing backlog of costly and urgent infrastructure needs. The assets we manage are essential to the daily life of Portlanders. And when we delay maintenance, we increase costs, risk service disruption, and expose the city to legal and regulatory risk. Strategic investment now helps us avoid emergency repairs, protect public health, and stay ahead of failure. Next slide, please. Infrastructure is not just concrete and pipe. Investment in our infrastructure is investment in a community. It's health and safety, it's not economic viability and livability. We're living today with benefits of choices made by past generations. The question before us now is, what kind of city are we building for the next 100 years? The work we do supports public health and safety. economic and financial resilience, equity, livability, and generational responsibility. We have an obligation for future generations to make sure they can benefit from investments we make today, just as we benefited from investments of previous generations. Next slide, please. Infrastructure investments make for good government too. It leads to fewer lawsuits, safer working conditions for employees, and makes progress on climate and resilience goals. Finally, I want to leave with four, again, last key takeaways. Public works is foundational. Next slide, please. We manage the systems Portlanders rely on daily: transportation, parks, water, stormwater, and sewer. The cost of doing nothing is rising. A backlog grows by $1 billion every year. Delay compounds risk, legal liability, and generational costs. This is a budget of trade-offs. Limited resources means we must prioritize core services and protects the assets Portlanders depend on every day. We work to present a budget that addresses budget constraints, identifies new revenue, manages rising infrastructure costs, and balances affordability with rate adjustments. We are faced with increasing costs for construction and materials and labor, and non-negotiable costs associated with debt servicing and regulatory requirements, and a backlog of necessary maintenance and repairs, and increased costs for city services and general fund overhead. To meet those challenges, we've made the tough choices and focused our spending on programs and services that positively impact our community. We are committed to gaining efficiencies through integration of shared services. We've identified new sources of revenue, including parking rates, TNC fees, and state highway funds. And we've carefully and thoughtfully planned for necessary increases to rates and fees while balancing affordability for our customers. We are building a sustainable path forward, and strategic investments today will reduce future rate shocks, improve equity, and protect our most vulnerable community. And we thank you for your partnership in making these investments in our community. And with that, concludes our presentations, and we are now happy to take your questions.
Thank you all for the very thorough information. Counselors, we have about an hour and a half, which, as we noted yesterday, is about 7.5 minutes each. I know that a number of folks have amendments that they want to put forward unrelated to this service area, and I'm guessing there are a lot of questions. So for this first round through, if you can try to keep yourself to that time so that all of your colleagues can get in as much as they can also, that would be great. We'll loop back around if there's time at the end. Councillor Green, jump right in.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you all for the presentation today. I want to particularly highlight the framing that you brought at the end, DCA, that being penny wise and pound foolish is costly down the road and leaves our future generations with a bigger asset management problem than we have today. So that's the frame I take here. I have some questions about the SDC aspects of this. I'll start with Director Long. The SDCs, it was about $13 million, if I recall correctly from the slides. I can't remember exactly, but I guess my question is, the SDCs are for building new capacity in the parks, right?
Correct.
Are we building new parks?
In fact, we're opening two in the next 2 months, Mill Park and Park Lane Park.
Okay, so going forward though, and maybe this is something for council to think about. I'm not necessarily opposed, but I want to know what we want to do with future park production, because the way I see it is when you build new parks, then you've increased the operations and maintenance liability. And we're going into a period of time where the only way we're going to do cost control without laying people off is to avoid creating a new operations liability. And so I don't need an answer right now or want to debate it, but that's a question I want to think about in the landscape of the mayor and the governor's kind of 5,000 homes challenge. I'm really trying to understand the trade-offs. I'm pretty pro that. I've sort of endorsed the idea, but I want to understand the trade-offs so I know how to think about next year and the year after. But I also wonder, so there was like 100, now I'm going from memory. Are you drawing down a balance of SDCs, or are those pass-throughs?
So we are currently drawing down on SDCs for projects that are currently being developed. with the mayor and governor's SDC freeze, we've identified projects. We anticipate that we would need $27 million to meet the goal of that mandate, I guess. And we've identified future projects that have not had SDCs allocated yet, and some that have. And those will be, I imagine, discussed at some point. And I think it's important to note that mostly our SDC allocations are in the out years, so they're projected.
Okay, that is helpful. This is probably for DCA Bieri, who's in the back, but you may know, Director Long, or DCA Donapal, do our contingency balances for restricted funds, like SDCs, do they earn interest as part of the broader kind of reserves and investment portfolio? I see some movement back there.
We need another chair.
I am. This is one of my favorite topics. I'm such a nerd.
Yeah, great. For the record, Jonas Beery, DCA Budget and Finance and City's Chief Financial Officer. Yes, Councilor, they do. Anything sitting in a fund balance anywhere in the city does collect interest under the city's collectively managed portfolio, and the interest proceeds are dispersed back to those funds.
Okay, thank you. All right. That was less dramatic than I thought. There's a question for, on the water and sewage rates question, there's an interaction between SDCs. On the one hand, like in terms of if high SDCs prevent development, then you get less development, which means you don't grow your property tax base, which means you don't spread your fixed costs over a larger base. But I also wonder if it's adding new demand for new capacity, that offsets it in the other direction. So I'm wondering if the Bureau has any thinking on the interaction between those two elements there, from like sort of a rate design perspective.
Councillor Green, I would like to call upon Farshad, who's a finance lead for BES, to answer that question.
And I will leave.
Good afternoon, Council President. Council, for the record, my name is Farshad Aladadi. I'm the Business Services Group Manager, BES. There is an interaction between SDCs and normal rate revenue. We build our rate forecast based on all of our revenues, and so the rate increase that we forecast assumes some level of SDCs to pay down the debt for the investments that we've made. Debt is one portion of use for SDCs, but also O&M costs as well. So I think you're correct that there is some potential upside from new development, but that is not completely, the rate revenue from that new development does not completely offset the loss of revenue from SDCs, because some portion of that SDC revenue pays for operations and maintenance costs.
That's helpful. And just to signal to my colleagues, I'm likely to introduce a budget note to sort of require a conversation on rate design over the next year, just because I think it's time, and I'd like to understand more, and I wonder if there's any other tricks up our sleeves.
And I just say, Councilor Green, that is something that we are also planning for. Okay. So know that we have started that work, looking through right now what are the objectives we want to accomplish with, a rate study and other things. So we are looking at that, and so thank you for that.
Okay. I was going to say something else about another budget note, but I don't have any time left, so maybe I'll defer to Councilor Novick because it's a joint thing. So I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Dunphy.
Thank you. I'm going to start by saying I don't know if this is a budget note or not, but I'm specifically for transportation and for parks. I want to make sure that we are holding East Portland as harmless in discretionary opportunities as possible. And I want to be intentional about that. I've talked about it on this dais a couple times, but as we said, it's wonderful that the mayor is putting more money into street sweeping, but if you don't have a sidewalk and you don't have a curb, you're not getting your street swept. Okay. And where those discretions are, where there's a discretionability, I want to make sure that East Portland is held harmless because we simply have less. I also want to introduce an amendment right now. I'm just going to jump in. I was told by the mayor that Leach Botanical Gardens pass-through funding was held harmless this year. From the presentation, it seems as though that is not the case. I will disclose my wife does work at Leach Botanical Garden, but it is also our only community garden partner in East Portland, and it's a relatively small amount of money. They are moving towards a financial sustainability model, but as of right now are not sustainable. I've also heard different things. I've heard that they are that their pass-through funding has already expired. I heard that they were held harmless, and then I saw in the presentation today that it was being reduced. As an amendment, I want to just make sure that those pass-through dollars continue. Those are the closest things I have to amendment. One's very clearly an amendment. I have a couple of quick questions, though. Director Williams, I saw streetcar expenditures in $24 million, but I didn't see revenue on that. I may have just missed it. Do we get revenue from streetcar?
Good afternoon, Jeremy Patton with PBOT Finance. Yes, we do. It's a mix. So what you're seeing, and to back up a lot of those expenditures, we do have PSEF resources that are going for the purchase of the cars, but most of the operations is either coming from general transportation revenues. It's also coming from TriMet.
Okay. And that's the great numbers question. The next question is sort of more philosophical. Should we still be in the business of running the streetcar? It seems we are often doing things that are not part of our government's job.
Did you want to? I can address it. Yeah. We are having an active conversation now about what the future of streetcar in the city of Portland looks like, especially in partnership with TriMet. They have been a longstanding partner. They are interested in the same things that we're interested in, which ultimately is service to Portlanders and to the region. But we do need to address what has been a longstanding conversation, and perhaps even in some folks' view, conflict around how we best deliver those services. So for folks' information, the operators for the streetcar are TriMet operators. So we work in very close coordination and collaboration anyway, but we are looking at how we might maximize efficiencies in that space. So you can look forward to hearing more about what that will look like as we move into the future. I know that just this morning, DCA Donna Paul and GM Sam Dessou were having a conversation after the JPACT conversation, that meeting that happened this morning. The city administrator and Mr. Dessou met earlier this week to talk about that very concept about how we will, as a community, move forward together.
Great.
And I did want to mention regarding street sweeping and cleaning in community, we do flush streets that don't have sidewalks. We don't do the traditional sweeping as we would for those with curb, but we do the flushing there.
Excellent, excellent. In that same sort of vein of talking about what the city does and what it doesn't, Director Long, I was at the Selwood Community House, which previously was a community center and is now, still a city-owned asset, but it's run by a community group. Are we looking at other models similar to that, to trying to, offload operational dollars onto a nonprofit, or trying to look for where community partners could take over some of the things that we're doing? It seems like it's a really good model, and that particular facility seems vibrant.
Yeah, that model began as a part of our 2019 budget cuts. So, yes, we've done it in the past, and we'd certainly be open to that in the future. And yeah, so we've done that also at I want to say Hillside, Fulton, and Selwood. So we've been fairly successful in having community organizations, nonprofits come in and run some of our smaller community centers.
Great. And lastly, actually, no, I'm sorry, two more quick questions. I saw a reduction in downtown loo cleaning. I guess I had thought that was under the contract with Clean and Safe. Am I incorrect?
No, it's not with Clean and Safe. It's with Rapid Response. And we also our staff do cleaning as well. So yes, so that would be a decrease in the contracting amount.
Thank you. And then the last question was, The reduction in dispatch for rangers, is there an effort to bring them into the dispatch system under BOEC?
So we're working with 311. We've had conversations with BOEC, but we're working with 311 to help supplement that work.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Murillo.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you all for being here and for your presentation. In the interest of time, I'm going to read through my amendments first. So Christopher, wherever you are, I hope you're taking notes. And most of these are related to your service area anyway, so I hope it's still relevant. And then if I have time, I'll ask a few questions. So my first amendment is to transfer $2 million in new one-time funding increase provided to the Portland Police Bureau in the mayor's proposed budget to support ongoing maintenance items for parks that have been proposed for elimination in the mayor's budget. So that's a little bit different than Councilor Avalos's because hers uses ongoing funds. So we've been having some discussion about that, but we're values aligned. So that mine would include things like playground repairs and the supplies necessary for keeping parks trash free and in good repair. And support for park staff that have been proposed for elimination would be covered by funds saved with Councilor Novik's call priority amendment, which I'm also deeply in favor of. My next proposal would be something for the city budget office, which I think plays a critical role in providing independent, in-depth analysis of bureau budgets to inform council decisions. And recent reductions in the scope of their reviews and analysis have limited council's ability to assess trade-offs and make evidence-based investments. So I'm introducing a budget note that will direct CBO to, among other things, restore CBO's core functions and ensuring transparent routine analysis that supports fiscal accountability and sound governance. I'm reading through these very quickly. But next one, I've been working with Councilors Novik, Green, and Dunphy to increase transportation network company fees, or TNC fees, as we've been discussing them, from the mayor's proposal of $1.30 to $2, and those funds will go to critical infrastructure projects managed by PBOT. Sorry guys, I should have done this earlier, but I was sick all week, so now you're gonna get all of them. My next one is the golf reduction to support park services. So as a potential alternative solution to restoring parks maintenance cuts, I am proposing a transfer of up to $5 million from the golf fund. I talked about this during the climate committee today, and this proposal can move in concert with Councilor Green's proposal to increase golf fees. So under this proposal, the golf fund will remain funded in line with binding city guidance, which requires that they maintain at least $1 million, but currently they have $7 million. And so it will also provide critical support to its parent agency, Parks and Rec, in this time of budget difficulty. We're getting close, sorry. My next amendment is to provide $1 million in funding to the Portland Housing Bureau to offer heightened levels of rental assistance and eviction legal defense programming to meet demands that have not been met since the federal government has taken those resources away. And I think that's really important as we're talking about long-term housing solutions and not just sheltering people. My next amendment would support the small donor elections program. We are directing one-time transfer of $900,000 to ensure that the small donor fund can meet the demand and not have sustainability, lower match caps, and match rates in upcoming election cycles. This funding will provide council with time to develop long-term enduring funding strategies for the fund. And I think that's something that really matters to the council and to a large number of members of our public. This fund is key to ensuring that we have people-centered elections that are not bought by whoever has the most money. Amendment number 7, this is one regarding the police that I don't think anyone else has discussed before. I am directing that $1 million of the Police Bureau's Special Revenue Fund be leveraged to launch a program evaluation initiative developed in partnership with external research experts and overseen by the city's performance team and independent police oversight body. So for folks who don't know what the Special Revenue Fund is, it's essentially when at the state and federal, like local, state, and federal level, police have seized assets and then they accrue money from that. The police have a ton of money in that pool that has remained untouched that I think they could use to support their own bureau. This initiative will define success upfront and use the best available research methods to ensure that council and the public have meaningful research and not just anecdotes and data in a vacuum on the outcomes and trade-offs of police strategies. I think that public safety needs to be built on evidence and not assumptions, and I hope that this kind of information will give us all more transparency and evidence-based policy in policing. I'm going to move an investment of up to $800,000 to ensure the completion of critical pedestrian safety work on Cesar A. Chavez Boulevard from Powell to Schiller, where there have been numerous traffic incidents in my district, and that has been pretty important to my constituents. And finally, I'm going to talk about restoring the 2 CBO analysts proposed for elimination in the mayor's budget, a one-time budget analyst and 1 performance analyst. As I've discussed in the context of my budget note on CBO, CBO's independent evaluations have long served as a backbone of Portland's fiscal stewardship and offering vital scrutiny on bureau spending, program performance, and long-term budget trends. So I want to ensure that we actually have the expertise needed to support our work in the upcoming budget cycle. Lastly, I discussed this one the other day, but I will be bringing a budget note that provides guidelines to govern the mayor's process for discovering, quote, enterprise efficiencies. I want to ensure that his team checks in with council at regular intervals in executive sessions with temperature checks, decision points, and data-driven presentations that clearly articulate the impact of programs and individual subjects to the cuts. Jobs are on the line, and so we don't want to hear about theoretical impacts. We want precise discussions about which employees are vulnerable and what the alternatives are moving forward. With that, Madam President, I don't know if I have any time left or if you were timing me, but.
You have about a minute left.
Okay, well, I'll cede my time, but I did what you wanted me to, Councilor Zimmerman, so now it should all be written down somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novick.
Thank you, Madam President. I will follow my District 3 colleague in starting by rattling off a bunch of proposed amendments. Many of them related to parks. One amendment would be to reduce the cuts to parks outdoor maintenance by $3 million by reducing the Portland Police budget by that amount, by between $2 and $3 million, which reflects the savings I think that PBB could achieve by ceasing to send armed officers to welfare checks and instead shifting that responsibility to a combination of PSR and public safety support specialists, PS3s. If my colleagues are not comfortable making an actual cut to the police budget relevant to that goal, an alternative I would propose is setting aside $2 to $3 million of the police budget that the police can only access if they demonstrate they're making progress towards hiring more PS3s and shifting the responsibility to welfare checks to PS3s. And in any event, I will propose to increase the position authority for PS3s. Another way I would propose to potentially raise money to offset the cuts to parks maintenance is to close 2 parks assets that have serious capital maintenance problems and might need to be closed for that reason in the not too distant future anyway, and to close them 3 months into the year. Those are the Community Music Center, the Multnomah Arts Center. 9 months of operation of those equals about $1.8 million. I also propose increasing funding for PBEM for such things as 24/7 watch, planning positions, and training exercise position, increasing PBEM's funding by $3 million, which I would pay for by reducing council office budgets by $300,000 apiece, not counting the council president. There's a particular reason why any savings from council offices should go to PBEM, which is that much of the council offices consists of overhead funding, so it can't be automatically transferred to operating funding for any bureau. PBEM, however, is largely an overhead bureau itself, so you can get, well, 1-for-1 bang for the buck. I believe that PBEM is woefully understaffed and does not even constitute a skeleton crew to plan for and respond to emergencies. I Also may be proposing an amendment to restore 2 Americans with Disabilities Act compliance positions, 1 in PP&D and 1 in the Office of Equity. Do I have any time left, Council President?
You do.
Okay. I do have a couple of questions or highlights on PBOT. Director Williams, it's my understanding that our budget for pavement maintenance this next year will be about $20 million. It's my further understanding that the amount that we would need to be making progress towards having our streets be in fair or good position is about $480 million a year. So that's a deficit of about $460 million. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And as the result of funding pavement maintenance at $20 million a year is that the maintenance deficit will continue to grow at a rapid rate.
That is correct.
I also wanted to daylight something. My understanding is that one of the projects that is expected to be funded in part by SDC funding used as match for federal funding is the 82nd Avenue Bus Rapid Transit Project. And it's my understanding that you are relying on about $6 million in projected SDC revenues for that purpose. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Finally, I just wanted to note in response to Councilor Dunphy that I am convinced that ridership and therefore revenues for the streetcar would improve dramatically if we took the obvious step of naming each streetcar after an emotion, such as, for example, desire. Thank you.
That's one of your first emails.
Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I just want to say thank you to all the bureaus and DCA Danapol for all the hard work that you put in, developing a budget and now a new budget. It's been kind of an emotional roller coaster, I think, for all of us, and I just appreciate all your hard work. We've certainly had an opportunity in the Transportation Infrastructure Committee to do a deeper dive into some of these areas, so I'm not going to, oh, you have something else you need to add?
I completely forgot something. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Why don't we let Councilor Clark finish, and then I'll have you add it in, Councilor Novick.
It's okay. Where was I? Anyway, I know we're all really anxious about what the state legislature is going to do, and depending on the day, it's good news. Again, a kind of an emotional roller coaster, but I'm looking forward to good news. I know that's an $11 billion potential, $11 million hole potentially. I'll just cut this short by saying I have about 6 different budget notes or amendments that's relevant to this service area, I believe. I'll have a budget note on PBOT, looking into all of our financial possibilities, all funding options. And actually, all of these are going to be submitted tonight, so you can get the details. I won't go into any detail here. I'll have 2 on relating to Southwest Trails. I'll have 2 volunteer proposals to create a program encouraging volunteerism, a lot more detail. And then 2 on asset management, which I think I may have already mentioned, and that will impact this service area. Still working on whether it's an amendment or just a budget note. And I think all of my others, I think I've already discussed. And I just want to say to Councilor Dunphy, I think you must be clairvoyant because we've talked about the streetcar before, maybe just in T&I committee about that. And I know that TriMet's doing some work on evaluating what it would take for them to take over the streetcar. And the Selwood, I've been working with the Selwood Community House, and I think they're really a model for what we can do across the city, actually. So with that, I think I will end. Just really appreciate all the work that you've done and your comments about the cost of doing nothing is rising. Thank you.
Councilor Zimmerman? I'm sorry, wait a minute. We're going back to Councilor Novick for just a moment.
I apologize. I forgot to mention that tonight the PSEF committee will be considering a proposal from Councilor Green to offset the proposed cuts in parks, not just parks maintenance, through a $10 million loan from PSEF. And we will be proposing that in order to repay that loan, we would introduce that in concert with the idea of increasing the surcharge in our business license tax on corporations that pay their CEOs more than 100 times what they pay their median worker. I have discussed an increase to that surcharge with the Revenue Office that they say would raise approximately $27 million a year, which would be enough to pay off a $10 million loan next year and also give us more money to guard against the fact of the heavy reliance on one-time funding we're making for this year. The tax increase would not generate usable revenue until 26, 27. So that's why it'd be a package deal with Councilor Green's proposal.
Thank you, councilors. Councilor Zimmerman, I'm sure you're excited to follow that.
I'm going to let that one go. As tempting as it was. Okay, my questions are back to the panel. I'm looking, Director Long, at the maintenance line item in your budget from 23-24. It was just over 14 million, and in the proposed budget this year, it's about 3.5 million. And it was a stark decrease last year by almost 10 million. I'm just trying to understand that versus park maintenance versus natural area maintenance. But the maintenance budget it was 4 million in 22, then it was 14 million in 23, and then it was 5 million in 24, and now it is 3 million in 25. What is that?
I would like, honestly, I don't know what you're looking at exactly, so
I'm looking at the
forgive me.
proposed budget, page 276 of the mayor's proposed. And since this is the only thing we get for a budget, which I would just say is woefully undetailed, that's what I've got.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, so if you just give me a moment.
Sure.
My finance person is going to pull it up.
Okay. Thanks. While we're doing that, as you all know, I made an amendment earlier last week regarding tree regulations. And one thing I've certainly learned from that is that we play hide the facts a lot with the way we fund things. And so I have to ask this next question about the natural area maintenance. It's $7.5 million. And I came into this process thinking it was $7.5 million of general fund and/or general fund and levy, but there are no documents that I can find that support the makeup of the natural area maintenance fund. Is it general fund? Is it levy? Is it PSEF? Is it magic dollars from something else?
Well, I know for natural area maintenance, we have not received any PSEF funding for that. It is likely levy general fund blend.
Okay, thanks. While your analyst is working on the other 14 million, colleagues, I'm just going to clarify my amendments that I made about tree regulations. And because that one amendment is really 3 or 4 parts, I'm going to read some into the record, and these are just what I would call polishing of the rock. So the first part is reduce 5,809,968 from urban forestry, and that breakdown is 756,398 of general fund and 5,053,570 of parks levy. Reducing that of urban forestry, excuse me. The second part of that amendment, or B, is increase park maintenance by that same whole number, 5,809,968. Part C, reduce 37 FTE in parks for tree regulation. Part D, increase 5 FTE in PP&D for tree regulations, 4 tree inspectors, 1 senior tree inspector, and realign those PSEF dollars that pay for those jobs from parks to PPD. Basically, the PSEF dollars come with those same employees to make them whole. No change to my earlier amendments, it's just clarification there. I also want to offer an amendment of $50,000 for, $50,000 to support the community-based trails alliances for sign maintenance, trail maintenance, as they see fit to be within the Parks Bureau. Do we have any more information about the maintenance dollars?
I
Yeah, hi. My name is Claudio Camposano, Finance Property Technology Manager for Vibrant Community Support Services. Looking at what you were pointing to, it's on page 301 of the mayor's budget. So this is a breakdown that is not organizational in nature. It's service based, and we tend to adjust that year by year. You'll see that there's also a line for parks maintenance. That is just a couple of lines below the maintenance line that goes from 19 million to 25 million. So it's really just a question of characterization in order to really look at sort of the organizational changes. We would want to look at that sort of organizational cut, not this sort of service-oriented cut. But things do move around on a year-by-year basis as we try and recharacterize them in terms of exactly what is the nature of that service, and in this case, making it more precise.
This is going to sound mean, but that was deeply unsatisfying. So we move things around based on what we want to call it each year is essentially how that broke down. Because, I mean, ultimately we go from a $4 million budget to a $14 million budget from 22 to 23.
Yeah, and
it's like there must have been some project because the 19 only went up to 23 in that same other line you're comparing it to.
Yeah, as I said, this is not a slice of the budget that we typically work from a planning perspective. So this is largely. And so we typically will work with the organizational components, so the different fund centers. This is sort of a functional approach, and often things get miscategorized, particularly in actuals. So I think you'll see that in a lot of throughout the city budget, sort of numbers bouncing around because of where they end up, where those actuals end up getting charged. So I recognize that it's not satisfying, but I would be happy to walk you through sort of an organizational picture of how we deliver maintenance in the Bureau.
I'll introduce a budget note that'll come in later, but colleagues, I'll just use this as another example that we have such a need to wash this budget system down the drain after June 30th, because this does not work. When this is the only printed document provided and it just has byline numbers on it, and then we're told those byline numbers are not accurate numbers, not perceived correctly, and earlier this week, my last week of battling of you can't actually defund the tree regulation program because it has PSEF dollars in it, so PSEF dollars are permanent where they stand. Unearthing the amount of budgetary hide the rock that exists in this organization is a full-time job. And I mentioned yesterday that I was interested in the city administrator and CFO bringing a package forward for what it would take to hire up in our CBO office, as well as to really, I think, gut the business analysts who seem to only report to their bureaus instead of through CBO. Because I don't know that we can actually function as a government moving forward with this type of budget document when everybody should be working for one boss and they seem to still be in a system, and not their fault, but a computer system, a budget system that is designed really for the 5 commissioners of yesteryear. So Parks is one of the most difficult because of its recent influx of PSEF, Parks Levy, and General Fund. But this exists in all bureaus. This exists in nearly every single area. And I don't think we're ever going to be able to be as transparent and as precise in what we want to deliver as long as the document we're given with the numbers is not actually the document with the numbers, right? These are sentences that don't make sense, and we're going to pass this thing, which we should, but we're going to pass this thing, and a whole lot of it is on faith. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to this esteemed panel of leaders who presented this afternoon. The good news is I will not ask you any questions. As explained earlier, now is the time to share some budget amendments and budget notes for your consideration. My basic theme here is Save Our Storefronts, or SOS. The first amendment is supporting our storefronts, continue and expand, restore and repair grant program. We allocate $1.5 million from Prosper Portland's general fund resources to the Restore and Repair Grant Program. The program is funded in fiscal year 24-25 with one-time funding, which we heard yesterday ran out before December. And no funding is included for this program in Prosper Portland's 25-26 proposed budget. We need to continue this vital support lifeline for our local businesses. Second amendment is supporting our storefront vacancy assessments, allocating $529,997 for ongoing funds to build capacity in the small business office for 2 related bodies of work. Perform surveying that will produce baseline data of the number of empty storefronts and businesses in Portland. These surveying efforts will result in creating an inventory of vacancy storefronts that will be presented in annual reports to the City Council. The goal of this program will be to provide valuable point-in-time data and an overall picture of the local business ecosystem to help inform City Council policy decisions regarding the storefronts in our business community. Perform exit interviews with businesses who relocate out of the city of Portland or close altogether. This information from these interviews will provide valuable quantitative and qualitative data on reporting and can help inform the City Council policy decisions regarding our storefronts and our business community. A third amendment I'm offering is supporting our storefronts, again in the SOS category, is a response network. This amendment will allocate $207,000 in ongoing funding to formalize citywide response system that serves local businesses hit hard by crime, vandalism, and livability issues in recent years. As mentioned, many businesses have or are considering closure or relocating, and it's imperative that the city adequately meets the needs of the local businesses and storefronts now more than ever. We must avoid sliding further down a doom loop. The goal of this amendment is to provide local businesses with coordinated and managed response to safety and livability issues that they report to the city. And to do that, formalize internal coordination and management is needed. The proposal will strengthen the good work of many partners, internal and external to the city, in the multi-organizational model that includes weekly problem-solving meetings that include the Police Bureau, Portland Solutions, Environmental Management Team, PMO, Clean and Safe, the Mayor's Office, of course, the business community reps, and the community of volunteers. The support of our storefront amendments are targeted efforts to ensure that the city is responsive to the needs of our storefronts, that we will uphold our businesses as valuable partners in our city's path forward. When they are doing well, we have a healthy budget. This morning, it was reported that Portland is experiencing a slight increase in population after 4 years of decline. Slight is helpful and it's promising. In recent years, the City Council has made many tough decisions to respond to the extreme public safety concerns on our streets and began to build 911, fire, and police to respond to this reality. Allow me to highlight just a couple examples. We lobbied, actually begged the state to edit the ill-timed legalization of hard drugs on our streets, Measure 110. Since the treatment center promises did not materialize, only the increase in open-air illegal drug use and associated crime increases happen in those areas of usage. We built shelters with services so there are places for homeless people to go that are safe. This past summer, after 4 years of making hard decisions, with countless Portlanders screaming at decision makers like me to do something to improve the livability in this city, people actually started to stop me on the street and say, "Thank you, Dan. Things are actually improving in Portland." And so, listening to many of these amendments that include cutting the Police Bureau, which has the lowest staffing levels for a city of our size, I asked myself why. When the city has made gains in the past 4 years to stabilize public safety ecosystem, why is the defunding police rearing its head again on this dais? When you listen to the storefront owners, when you listen to the people on their porches, when you talk to parents in parks and in schools, they tell you, please, focus resources to ensure quicker police response and more police assistance in crime and chronic livability issues in our neighborhoods. They want us to invest in police, and if we want our tax revenues to improve in the future years, you should too. Here's the doom loop reality. If we cut the police budget, residents and businesses leave Portland. It erodes our tax base further. Less money for our city's services, declines in public satisfaction, and yes, the continued exodus of people and their businesses will persist. We can't backpedal at this juncture when we finally have momentum. I want to thank Mayor Wilson for providing a balanced budget with difficult trade-offs. The mayor was elected across districts 1, 2, 3, and 4 with a clear mandate to end unsheltered homelessness in our city. The mayor responded with a balanced budget that includes investments to stabilize core city services. Mr. Mayor, you're the only elected person who has the weighty responsibility to produce a balanced budget across the city bureaus. You have gone to great lengths to connect with everyone on this council to make this a collaborative process. Thank you for those thoughtful efforts. We should all show our appreciation for the difficult decisions that you and your team have made. And I'll just end my comments.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Canal.
Thank you very much, Madam President. So I will be proposing two standalone budget notes. They're both for revenue, instructing them to explore and report back on two different potential revenue generating projects by next year's city administrator's recommendations. That's a timeline. One is on a vacancy fee for both residential and commercial. Those can be separated analyses. And the other is a package delivery fee on a per delivery basis for non-food deliveries, which Colorado and Minnesota have recently done something similar on that. This is not a proposal for a new tax or fee at the moment, but something I'd like to get information on for the future. I'd also like to clarify one of the amendments that, the only one of mine, although I've said a few, that is in the tracker right now. It says $2 million to restore funding for 1 year of operations for Sunderland RV Park. This is actually for 9 additional months. It's already funded through the end of September. It is $1.95 million and it is one-time dollars. So just clarifying what that was in there. And that's going to be part of an amendment package that I'm going to be bringing forward that is not exactly ready yet for prime time. I do want to mention a few that are currently getting close to ready or ready. We're just verifying a couple numbers here. So I reserve the right to adjust the dollar amounts. The first package is to replace one-time dollars with ongoing dollars at BOEC for 8 limited duration telecommunicators, at the chat program for one of their $2 million of city funding, reserving the rest as one time, and $281,000 roughly of OVP ceasefire grant funding, which is all one-time dollars, and to swap that out with ongoing dollars that would be replaced by one-time dollars separate from the other amendments you've heard for the Police Bureau. This is a rough estimate of the amount of money that was used for the protest response in November as well as the holiday markets in December. These numbers may adjust. This is not a cut. I stress not a cut. Another package will restore some of the funding for eliminated positions around the city. I'm going to get that in email to CBO and fund that by instructing the mayor to reduce non-public safety general fund deputy directors and reclass some of those positions with managers one level below. We have a lot of management bloat. Our organizational chart needs to look like a pyramid and not like a column. And this would be accompanied with examining as well bureau director salary scales, because a year ago, bureau directors reported to elected officials. And now they report to 2 layers between them and an elected official. And so that's just a reexamination. A third one is to fund out of the Strategic Investment Fund at Prosper $500,000 for the repair and restore grant. I'm hearing Councilor Ryan's argument for more money, and I am potentially interested in talking about that with him as well as $50,000 for the large event stability grant. These are grant programs that help keep our largest events stable, but also looking at what we lose when a large event moves out of our city. We've had a lot of, first off, we need to look at what large constitutes as well. I think there's some question of where you draw the line there, but large events help drive our economy, they help drive our tourism, they help drive our image as a city, and ensuring that we are keeping our windows when they are unfortunately smashed and replaced, as well as those large events in the city, is going to help our recovery. A fourth one is removing a vacant position at the city attorney's office and transferring that budget to, for a deputy city attorney, and transferring that budget to council operations as external materials and services to fund a outside legal counsel for the purpose of assessing separation of powers and charter interpretation issues. Another is to eliminate the office, I mentioned this one yesterday, eliminate the chief engagement officer position, add an analyst 2 for community engagement, as well as external materials and services to make up that difference. These are ongoing dollars to council operations, as well as move one of the analyst 3s that does community engagement from, I think it's in the administrator's office or Civic Life. I am verifying that to council operations as well. So that's 2 positions that would move over. And the last one is to add $3.4 million of one-time dollars to the citywide obligation reserve funds subfund. Before I get to that one, it is a city administrator, not Civic Life in the previous one. And the last one I'm here that I can read out here is adding $3.4 million of one-time dollars to the citywide obligation reserve fund, the sub-fund for the Office of Community-Based Police Accountability, and designating that the existing $3.4 million of ongoing dollars, which is already allocated to independent police review, is not part of the OCPA budget. And that's to ensure charter compliance. Because as I noted yesterday, right now we are funding a agency that is not allowed to be funded with a certain pool of dollars, which is the 5% allocation for the Community Board for Police Accountability out of those dollars. And it's unfortunate we have to put on amendments just to comply with the charter that voters approved, but that is the world we live in right now. So I will be sending all those via email out. There is one more I'm working on that hopefully, I'll just know all of these are balanced except for that last one, except for the fact that they actually free up ongoing dollars and commit more one-time dollars, which is the better direction, I hope, to the tune of about 1.7 million by our back of envelope math that we're verifying by tomorrow. Do I have any time left?
A full minute.
Great. I just want to comment on some stuff that came up here then. I'll take that opportunity. I understand that opening parks can be a liability that's currently unfunded, and I think that's a really important note that Councilor Green made. I think parks density in an area is something that you use already, and I'm grateful that you use it, because I'll note that both Mill Park and Park Lane Park are in East Portland. I think it's vital that we also look at maybe reducing but focusing, right? I am very uninterested in privatizing or closing community centers or transferring out the streetcar. But I will say, I asked a similar question to you earlier today, Councilor Dunphy, about park ranger dispatchers, and that is part of the one that I am not quite ready for yet. I think if we're gonna give this function over to 311, we wanna make sure that they're staffed enough to do that function. And there are 3 people who've been doing that job, so it might be worth considering if some or all of them are able to move over with those position authorities to the 311 program. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Smith?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you all for the presentation today. I was looking at your decision packages. There's a decision package on page 58, and it says Deputy City Administrator Staffing Support. This package creates an interagency agreement that realigns 6 existing positions from the Portland Bureau of Transportation, Portland Water Bureau, and Bureau of Environmental Services to Public Works Service area level operation and initiatives. These are not new positions. They are repurposed from existing roles within the 3 bureaus. with each bureau offsetting costs through corresponding reductions to ensure a net neutral citywide impact. These roles will operate at the service area level to support cross-bureau functions, strategic planning, and unified implementation of key initiatives. IA balancing, PBOT, PP&D. This package balances interagency costs between PBOT, permitting, and development. And in this package, it didn't deliver DCA DenaPaul, it did not identify what the dollar amount, even though it's a across-the-board trade, it doesn't have a dollar amount in which it's worth. Page 58 of the mayor's budget.
Thank you. I'm going to check with, I'm going to defer it to Farshad. Councilor Smith, it's $1.3 million.
So that's $1.3 million that's going to stay in PBOT, or is it going to the Deputy City Administrator's staffing support?
It is a repurposing of positions from within the 3 Public Works bureaus to...
You all are giving to
serve service area-wide initiatives.
Right. But it's going to, you're going to move those because they're taking supposedly 6 from their department, and you guys are swapping of sorts, or you're giving them 6 positions, and so they've gotten rid of positions and realignment. And what I've noticed about this realignment, it's not really realignment, it's just moving the shell. It's a shell game. This one moves realignment. They say it's not adding or subtracting. You put 6 over here, and then the 6 over here puts another 3 over here and another 3 over there. So, I mean, it is so confusing and frustrating when dollars and cents are not used, and FTEs specifically and how much they make are not used. I don't know how much of that 1.3 is in services and materials. So that part, I'm equally as frustrated as Councilor Zimmerman is about this process. But what I want to say is, there's another one in the Water Bureau, realignment, Deputy City Administrator staffing support. This package creates an interagency agreement that realigns 6 existing positions from PBOT, the Water Bureau, the Bureau of Environmental Services, to support public works service area level operations. So that also gives the city administrator additional folks that he's taking from your budget area. And so I don't like it. I don't like this kind of shell game that's going on, because they can't convince me that the work that you all are doing in your public works is going to be the same thing that's going to be doing in the administrator's budget, because that's not what they do. They direct executive agencies. Go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor. If I could offer some clarity on those 6 positions and the $1.3 million. They are positions from within the Public Works bureaus that are being elevated to the Public Works service area, and particularly they are for helping with key service area initiatives like the Unified CIP work that is happening within our Public Works service area that will benefit PBOT and water and BES, and also the One Water initiative that was directed for the Public Works Service area to do, which will benefit water and BES, and the other constituent services and council office communications that we are coordinating between our 3 Public Works bureaus at this point, and when Parks joins us, the funding allocation will be shared by the 4 Public Works bureaus at that time. So this is strictly to benefit the Public Works bureaus and the Public Works key initiatives that have been directed for us to take on, as well as the transitions that are upcoming transitions with respect to water BES as well as parks joining us as well.
I understand. So there's 12 positions like that. There's 12. There's one in this one, 6, and then there's a second one that gives away another 6. And so I understand, but they're going to be directed and they're going to be managed by the city administrator. If they're going to be doing work in the service area, why aren't they being managed by you?
They will be managed by me, counselor, and they're not 12 positions, there are 6 positions, in addition to the one water director, which will be the position that will oversee both water and BES.
So I'm not clear, are those people coming from the city administrator's office and you guys are swapping? Or why do they have to do realignment?
They are coming from they are repurposed from within the bureaus and elevated to the service area level, and they will be in my office.
Exactly. So that's what I'm asking. Why do you have to put that in writing? If you're already over them, why do you have to put a realignment in here?
I think that's a question for...
I can ask the technical question, Jeremy Pan with PBOT Finance. What's happening is transactional level. It's moving 2 positions from each of the bureaus into the Deputy City Administrator's budget. So it's a net 0 gain across the city. We're just moving 2 from each into the Deputy City. The reason we have to do that is legally, in order to have those positions hired within those certain areas, we have to pass the authorized FTE counts, and those are by the different bureaus, and it's a separate bureau within those authorized FTE counts technically. And so that's the transaction that's just moving those positions to the correct place.
But the Deputy City Administrator had to get rid of some positions in order to accept them to do a cross alliance, no?
No, there were only 2. There's only 2 positions currently there, and then we're moving another 6 or 7 positions.
It says
total,
this
yeah.
realigns 6 existing positions from PBOT, Portland Water Bureau, and BES.
Correct. 2 from each bureau.
So that's 2, 4, 6.
Yes.
And so they're going to be under the city administrator's office now.
Correct.
Under the
DCA's office.
Under the Deputy City
Under
Administrator's
your, okay, okay. That's what I was trying to figure out. Why do we have to do that? And they have it under realignment. Okay. So the other piece is, there is a Portland Solutions Street Services Coordination Center derelict RV cash transfer to PBOT. This request is for $1 million from the general fund, one time only, for the Portland Bureau of Transportation for derelict and recreational vehicles. And this program ensures that PBOT vehicle inspection teams contact individuals, offers service, and explains laws and codes. So are these folks working in conjunction with PBOT or just coming from PBOT's budget to Portland Solutions?
They would be PBOT's employees that are doing the work. The funding is coming from Portland Solutions to create the opportunity for more of that work to be done.
Okay.
We have what's called a VIT team, and that team of roughly 10 parking enforcement officers have added to their responsibility, their scope of work, the opportunity to go out and provide that service. And so we have any number of folks who move from either those vehicles that are being lived in on the street or RVs into some sort of housing, or they're moving their RVs into like the safe rest villages. We help to support that work happening.
Perfect. So the big $100 million question is, you all reduced your general fund shortfall that was $38 million. How did you all do that? Where'd the money come from?
How did we reduce the $38 million gap? How did we eliminate that gap? There were several things. One, just last week, this council approved the $80 million bond financing solution for the ADA ramps. That was roughly $10 million a year that we would have been paying, so that's 10. We have the opportunity to increase parking rates and we provided the numbers on that, and Jeremy can, I can look in my notebook, but Jeremy can provide those numbers. He has them off the top of his head. So that was a portion of the gap. The PP&D interagency expenses, the city administrator made a determination that PBOT would provide less funding to that interagency agreement. So the gap was made smaller.
Was that the 9.5 million?
No, not 9.5. Is it 4? Roughly $4 million.
$4 million, okay.
Yes.
I have that.
So parking, ADA ramps, the TNC, the proposed TNC fee increase, which would cover a portion, and there's always one that I forget.
Is the $11 million that we expect to get from the state, is that how you did that?
That's the final component, yes.
So I wanted to make you aware, and I don't know if you know, but I bet you know because you followed this kind of stuff. Yesterday, there was a forecast done at the state level, and apparently now they're short by $500 million. And so that may have an impact on what we get and what's passed in the budget for transportation.
Yes.
And so if we don't get our $11 million, are we prepared to be able to backfill whatever that $11 million is?
We would have a plan to make reductions to the tune of $11 million. In order to backfill, that would be something that the mayor and this council would have to help to support identifying funding to fill that gap.
And so,
Counselor, I'm noting that it's been about 10 minutes.
okay, just one question. There's two things here. DCA GFL, how many vacant FTEs do you have right now? Across the One Water system?
Across the service area? Or
Yeah, the service area, the Public Works service area?
I think water and BS is none. We have some. 10 or so.
PBOT has roughly 145.
Okay. And my last amendment, Madam President, there was an article in the paper on the 14th that said that the Multnomah County Chair, she added 19.5 million of new shelter beds. We've added new shelter beds for ours are kind of, the Safe Rest Villages are like 38 million. I have an amendment. I want to make sure that SIP is passed. And I don't know how I can make this budget note, but I think we all need to talk because somebody needs to give up their shelter beds because it is causing us to take a back seat to our infrastructure. So I want to put an amendment down. I want to take away $8 million from the 25 that's in the housing joint office and make a budget note that we need to get together during our joint office and we need to hash out whose shelter plan we're going to use. I'm not taking money from the mayor's new shelter, Portland Solutions, or even the Safe Rest Villages for $38 million. I am taking it off that $31 million, which is now 25. I want to take that $8 million off of that piece of money because if we're going to be doing shelter beds, we should not be giving them money. And somebody needs to say, hey, we're going to produce ours because they're adding new when they should be paying for ours. So I want to make a budget note of that $8 million for SIP, to pay debt service, and to have a conversation to say whose shelter beds are we going to put online and pay for.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Counselor Avalos?
All right, hello. I am going to read my amendments, so I'm sparing you all of hard questions. I don't have any right now. Thank you, though. Now, couple of things. So the following amendments are still in draft form, but I'd like to get them on the record as a placeholder, as everyone else is doing. I am still working with CBO to identify some of the fund sources, as well as waiting to see how some of the revenue generating ideas that my colleagues are proposing evolve. So as a result, I may amend my amendments based on other people's amendments. The way I'm going to read these are also listed in priority order for me. So you all see to which ones I'm going to be fighting hardest for are the ones closer to the top of my list. Before I do that, I have to say one thing. I have heard people often on this dais speak about shared sacrifice. If that is what we truly believe, why do we not hold every bureau accountable for participating in a budget exercise to critically assess what is needed to maintain basic service levels to all Portlanders during a dire budget? I completely reject any notion that a police budget of over $300 million has no room to give. I reject the fear-mongering that suggests any reduction will result in literal chaos on our streets. Put plainly, labeling the efforts of many of our colleagues to hold a bureau accountable for their spending as defund the police is offensive, not just to me, but to the thousands of Portlanders who have weighed in over the years asking for common sense community safety solutions. This is not 2020 anymore. We as a society have collectively moved on and grown our understanding of what our communities really need to feel safe. And that understanding is clearly reflected in what we've heard over the last few months in our listening sessions, in the polls. And what they say is community safety is parks. It's economic opportunity. It's infrastructure to reduce crime through environmental design. I'm not interested in coded language. I'm interested in results, and I'm demanding them of every single bureau. On that note, my first amendment. Number 1, transfer $2 million to the Parks and Rec to offset parks maintenance cuts. Amendment 2, transfer $2.5 million to Parks and Rec to offset parks programming cuts. Number 3, move 75% of projected police and fire overtime funds out of bureau-based budgets and into a council-controlled policy set-aside, and require bureaus to submit formal justifications for overtime drawdowns subject to approval or delegated criteria set by the CBO. Number 4, add $1.4 million to the Portland Housing Bureau, $400,000 for a rent subsidy for Everett Station loft tenants, and $1 million for the preservation of affordable housing units. Number 5, grant $1.5 million from the opioid settlement funds to help Fora Health complete its new mental health facility in East Portland. Number 6, set aside $15 million in contingency to cover increases in healthcare costs that would impact the FY 26-27 fiscal year. Number 7, a budget note. The mayor will instruct the citywide services of communications, engagement, and equity to work together on a unified strategic vision for how these services will be standardized to provide better outcomes for Portlanders before any cuts to staffing are made. The mayor will use the strategic plan and work with the chief officers to identify efficiencies and cuts while maintaining the level of service needed to achieve outcomes identified in the plan. Number 8, transfer $477,949 to the Office of Civic Life to restore funding for the Diversity and Civic Leadership Program and the District Coalition offices. Number 9, add funding to expand 311 staffing and service delivery capacity, including multilingual support and digital access improvements, require an evaluation of service performance, call response times, and equity outcomes with recommendations presented to council ahead of FY 26-7 budget. And number 10, transfer X amount of dollars, still working that out, to the Small Donor Elections Program to ensure that it can operate fully for the 2026 election cycle. Thank you, that is all.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Koyama Lane.
Thanks so much for being here. Council President and I were messaging about how cool it is to have all these strong women of color leaders up here. It's awesome. All right. Taking the opportunity to speak into the record, my intent to propose the following for consideration during the approved budget hearing on May 21st. I intend to submit a budget note regarding Vision Zero. I've already spoken about this. It's mostly about increasing the frequency of reporting to make it at least quarterly, disaggregating data, committing to use the equity matrix. I also intend to submit a budget note regarding tribal relations. This amendment is being reviewed by folks in OGR, the Office of Government Relations, to make sure that it aligns with the work that is already in progress and that they are doing. I intend to bring I intend to possibly, I still need to talk to DCA Donapal a little bit more about if I'm going to bring a budget note to specifically name which key leaders will be accountable to the city's Vision Zero action plan. We'll talk more in the next less than 24 hours. We'll make it happen. In addition, I intend to bring a budget amendment that ensures that the work of Vision Zero and traffic safety is made whole in the FY 25-26 budget. And also, along with Councilor Dunphy and possibly another councilor or two, I intend to submit an amendment that ensures current capacity in the Office of Equity and Human Rights for the equity efforts related to LGBTQIA2S+ communities is maintained. And I look forward to working together with all of you and all the amendments and budget notes that are being offered.
Thank you, Councilor. Colleagues, two of our colleagues said they have quick things they forgot, so I'm going to go to them next. Councilor Dunphy.
Thank you, Madam President. Very quickly, I'd like to introduce an amendment as well that would raise the exemption level for our business license tax. It is currently set at $50,000 gross business income. We are going after Uber drivers and charging and minimum wage workers to charge a 2.5% business license tax. My amendment would increase that to $100,000.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zimmerman.
Thank you. For the last 2 decades, the City Administrator's Office has had a downtown marketing initiative at around the $200,000 range. I cannot find it in the budget. It looks like it was left out or directly and purposely excluded from the budget. So I'm proposing an amendment to add $225,000 for the downtown marketing initiative back into the City Administrator's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors, I am going to try to ask a few questions and still have time for my budget notes and amendments. Director Williams, what would the schedule be for street sweeping under the $3.1 million proposal that you put forward?
Sure. Within the first year, we would enhance the current LEAF district map, so more districts would be, or neighborhoods would be included in that. We would also be making the purchases of equipment and hiring staff. You would see a small increase in the amount of residential street sweeping that would occur. However, the $3.1 million that's coming from BES would be dedicated to those streets that have the MS4 permit requirements attached to that. So there's the drainage and stormwater efforts that need to be aligned well. So that's how that would be prioritized. But you would not see much more than the current level of street sweeping in year 1 because we simply do not have the capacity. When this program was cut in 2023, with that went staff as well as equipment. And so it takes time to ramp back up to the efforts, to the expectations that would lead us to having ultimately 3 to 4 sweepings per year or cleanings per year. Also, the first one would need to be an impact cleaning because it has been 3 years since we've gone into residential streets. And so it would be more than just sweepers and flushers. It would be more like a leaf day operation all over town. So it would take a significant level of effort.
So for non-leaf district residential streets in year 2, you would assume about a quarterly cleaning?
Every 3, Jody?
Thank you. Jody Yates, I'm the PBOTS Maintenance Operations Director. So in year 2, we would continue to acquire more equipment and more staff. We'd probably be in a 2 to 3 times sweeping in the second year. In addition, we'd also be adding in some signage and parking enforcement officers so we could actually clean to the curb. And so we'd be rolling that in year 1 and year 2. And by year 3, we'd be at quarterly sweeping.
Okay, and for our more major streets that are already receiving some sweeping and that would benefit from those additional funds from BES, how often would those be swept once we're at full capacity of the program?
They are currently being swept at 6 to 8 times per year.
And that would double, that would increase by 3 to 4 more?
No, we would keep those about at that same frequency.
Got it. So 6 to 8 times a year, every other month or so for major streets, and quarterly for residential streets for the cost that we have in this year's budget.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. There was a transfer, and I'm not sure if this is a BES or if this is a PBOT question, but there was a transfer of $35 million for maintenance that isn't moving forward, and I'm trying to understand what the long-term risk of that is. Is that something that we will need to put back in the budget in the next year or two so that we don't have failures of our systems moving forward? Or is that something where we're doing excess maintenance that we don't need to be doing?
Are you referring to the cooperative work agreement for sewer maintenance?
This was part of PBOT's budget presentation.
It's a $35 million reduction, $3.4 million reduction, and it's 24 staff that are related to that reduction in service.
So I can take that first down. And so basically, this is a cooperative work agreement. BES pays for PBOT for complying with our stormwater and conveyance system permit compliance. Because of everything is rising the cost, whether it's wage and everything. So there is a baseline what we have been paying from the last year. And then based on that, and then we are also looking to the cost of a service and impact of a permit compliance. So we have a paid increase of $3.3 million to PBOT, but still considering what their cost increase and there is additional need. So we look for compromise that it's continue meeting the permit compliance, but it's also having that balance to support our budget.
I understand that we're meeting compliance still. My concern is that if we are going to have to add back in this money down the line so that we don't have failure of our systems, I think that my colleagues and I need to know that now so that we can be thinking ahead for how we might replace those dollars. I worry when we say we're cutting 24 positions who do regular maintenance, given the track record of our city in maintaining our assets.
Yeah, we definitely, the team members are working to finalize the updated work agreement. We're looking to the new level of service, and we are also looking to leveraging additional tools and technologies and how to be more efficient. So we can definitely provide more update as we finalize the agreement.
Okay, I'd like to know more about what the need will be moving forward there.
Yeah, we'd love to share with you. It's definitely challenging there.
Okay. On the park side, Director Long, there are significant cuts after this summer to the Summer Free-for-All program. And I'm wondering how that program was funded before levy funds were available, because we had an extensive program before we had levy funds. We then took over most of the costs with levy funds, and now when the levy is cut, we're talking about limiting program. What did we do before to pay for this that we should consider doing again so that we don't have this deep of cuts?
Certainly. Prior to the levy, private fundraising largely supported Summer Free-for-All. It was led quite heavily by former Commissioner Nick Fish and with staff from Portland Parks and Recreation.
Thank you. And as we move forward, thinking about the 2026 year, what will the impact to luncheon plays, where we know many of our kids in our community get free lunches in the summer, be given the cuts that you're proposing?
That's unknown at this time, and we are suggesting that Summer Free-for-All would be reduced in 2026, not completely eliminated. And so we would have to work with our partners who we work with PPS and others on the free lunch and play program. So right now it's unknown. I could do a little bit of reconnaissance with our staff to see if they've had any conversations with PPS and the other school districts, but they too are experiencing some financial difficulties. So.
Thank you. I'll want to ask more questions about that as we move toward next summer and have a better sense of what the funding will be. Sure. Colleagues, I'll be proposing a budget note to ask Parks to come forward by October 1st with a plan for how they might maximize outside funding and develop a fundraising strategy so that we can maintain Summer Free-for-All programming at the levels that we have seen over the past few years. I'll also have a budget note directing the Office of Government Relations to deliver a report to the council by September 1st on its plan to hire a tribal relations director and to include updates to us in the city administrator's report quarterly on how they're using tribal relations money until they hire that program director. I will have a budget amendment adding 2 additional coordinator 2s to the council clerk's office for $339,000, a budget amendment reclassifying an administrative 3 position within council ops to an analyst 3 position in order to better serve us with the work that they do for $24,000, and a reduction package to our own budgets by $200,000 each to cover those costs, as well as offset some of the additional costs that have been included in the mayor's proposed to better serve our body. I will also have a budget note asking for reports on outcomes of the new shelter plan so that we can better understand, as funds are allocated to a new shelter program in our city, what the outcomes are. I will have those specifics when I bring that note forward. I'm sorry I don't have them all today. I believe everything else on my list I have already read into the record. Thank you very much. And it looks like Councillor Canal is back in the queue for a second go. And councillors, we have about 15 more minutes, so I'll ask for you to just take 2 minutes each here.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's been said many times throughout this process that priorities are the things that we're doing here, right? Councillor Novick reminded a few of us in the past that, we are deciding between A and B at any given moment. And I think we also need to expect our bureaus to do that. And so I agree completely with Councillor Avalos and your earlier point that we need to be prioritizing here around what's actually going to deliver a city that cares for its people and helps us all thrive. And when I talk to business folks, business owners around, asking for police to respond to their calls is the core thing that they're referring to, and not to do the things that are outside of that scope. And that's been a big part of this conversation that's sort of separate from the budget, but is gonna feed in here too. And I also think that one of the things that makes it easier to run a business here is when, and this is my pivot to PBOT, is when we have support from our bureaus that provide the infrastructure support. There was reporting about Living Room Wines yesterday, who put in, it's on Lombard in North Portland, which put in a seating area with PBOT approval from January, building it through May. And if you haven't been, you should check this place out, by the way, everybody. And then we're told by ODOT that they could not do so, and PBOT did not have the original authority to authorize this permit in the first place. PBOT according to the reporting, and please correct me if any of this is wrong because I'm just going off of this. PBOT offered $1,000 for something that had already had $11,000 of sunk cost and would have additional cost to either disassemble it or move it to the sidewalk, which is evidently allowable. Sure. So I guess my question is this something that you have budgeted for to fully reimburse? Where does that come from? And can we make sure that this business is made whole?
Yes, thank you so much, Councilor Canal, for bringing that up. I was actually hoping someone would, because I did want to have the opportunity to speak to the fact that, yes, PBOT staff did allow for the permit to move forward. We thought that the notion was great, that the shop there would benefit from having what many community members have as a benefit in their neighborhoods with the outdoor dining. One of the failures in our process was to appropriately acknowledge that we did not have authority for that portion of the roadway. And when ODOT identified that, they did immediately let us know, but that was some months into the planning. Obviously, the structure wasn't there until it was. And it is a beautiful structure. What I have instructed the staff to do is not just reimburse the permittee for the cost of the permit, which is the roughly $1,000, but we are going to work with them to move the structure at our cost. They will not need to expend any additional dollars to move or place the structure in another location, and we'll make sure that they are made whole. That was instruction that was given to our chief engineer and the team that is responsible for that work. We don't want to be a hindrance to people being able to move their businesses forward and be successful in the spaces. It is a beautiful space. I intend to go there tonight myself, but I'm glad that you brought it up, because the direction has been given that we will make that entity whole. Do we have a lot of money lying around to provide that wholeness? No, but we do have some, and we will make sure that we will correct the problem and make sure that the relationship with that business owner is strong and with the community is strong. I'd also like to share that ODOT was not, putting down the hammer as much as it was, hey, we see this discrepancy, and we work with ODOT all the time, almost daily, to ensure that our service is seamless to community. And this is going to be another opportunity for us to demonstrate that when we see that we've done something that might be misaligned with people's expectations, that we take the time to fix it, that we address it in a meaningful way. We do it swiftly. As shared very early on in our conversations with this council, three of the questions that I ask of PBOT staff are, is it done right, and is it done well? And we intend to move forward with excellence in the delivery of our services in all of the ways that we are working with community. So you can expect to see an update there very soon.
Thank you, and you weren't kidding. You were prepared to talk about it, so thank you. And I appreciate it. I want to say, we're all going to make mistakes. I'm not implying any bad faith here. It seems very much like a good faith effort to try and support the business. And when we mess up, we'll get it right. And
right.
I appreciate it.
We acknowledged it. We apologize, and I've been in constant communication all day today, even with others in the business community who are concerned about what this represents. And I have sought to make sure that they're clear that this is not something that they need to be concerned about, but rather that PBOT wants to be and will continue to be a good partner.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Zimmerman.
Thank you. I think that we make choices, but I'm prioritizing. I don't think all things are equal in the city. I don't think that shared sacrifice is the way to go about a budget that has a deficit. I think you fund your priorities first. You fund what you can, and you make sure that what you do well, and what you can't fund, you don't do crappy. So I'm going to share that because that's the perspective I'm coming from. And I think that prioritization is important in this. But given that, and I've been transparent that I've had real concerns with how the tree regulation group has conducted themselves in our community. But there was a choice that was made in both the preliminary requested budget and in the mayor's proposed budget. And I was wondering if Director Long, if you can share why you prioritized holding the tree regulation program whole at about the same dollar amount. It looks like you reduced park maintenance dollars because that was a choice. There was a reason behind that. I don't understand it. Obviously, I've made some proposed changes, but to be fair, I would welcome your explanation why you've thought that program should be held whole or less harmed than the maintenance program.
Sure. Well, first, the maintenance program just proportionally is a lot larger, so I just want to put that out there. Also, in taking in the guidance both from the city administrator and then the deputy city administrator, and then adding my own, which was to ask my program managers, my division managers to take proportional percentage cuts across the board. So I did not make a decision to go deeper in one area than another. I asked them all to do that with other guidance as well. And that was one of the programs that was not chosen for reduction. Other programs within urban forestry were chosen for the reduction to meet that goal. I'll also add that the permitting and regulation program, we spoke about it quite a bit at the climate committee today, earlier today, has 5 distinct programs that offer a lot of services to the city. I understand that you have some concerns about some of the operations. I don't know if The amendment that you've put on the floor is going to solve those, and I look forward to continuing to have a conversation. We would love, 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 love to come and brief you about the entire program, do site visits, ride-alongs. We offer that to everyone on the council so they can have a better understanding about the importance of that program.
I appreciate it. I just want to note that we've had the Urban Forestry Group in front of the Finance Committee, and that while you're right, I don't know that the amendment will solve all things related to permitting. I think that it certainly could help with the perspective and how we conduct code compliance and code enforcement across the city and standardize that a little bit, because I think what I'm experiencing is a hammer always sees a nail, but in PP&D, that code compliance has to take a holistic picture at the entire situation. But I very much value and I appreciate that you said the directions were proportional in terms of how the budgets were developed. That is important because our mayor and our city administrator give directions out to you all on how to form that up. And I'm sad to hear that it sounds like they gave a proportional direction instead of tell me what we're going to do well and tell me what we're not going to do, which I said to them months ago I thought would be a better path. But that helps me in my decision making in terms of how I interpret what they have sent to us. So thank you.
To be clear, the proportional cuts was my direction. We all received the same direction from the city administrator, and then I imagine each bureau also got deputy city administrator guidance. So that was my direction for it to be proportional.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Smith? And we have just a few minutes left. Yep. I don't think you were here when I gave folks that heads up.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to make a correction. I put in not a budget note, but an amendment yesterday to put $5 million into Civic Life for business assistance. And I want to put that back into economic development, not in Civic Life. So I want to scratch that. I still want to do it, but I said the wrong bureau.
Thank you for clarifying for us, Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Murillo.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to add, as we're having these discussions, that we're in a really tough budget time and we are being asked to make really hard choices, as are the bureau directors and everyone who's in charge of this budget. And we also don't have to make these choices in a vacuum. There were multiple community surveys that went out, one that was led by Council President and Councillor Novick, that was done by someone who was an impartial survey person who surveyed the entire city. And they showed that when given the choice, if they had to choose, Portlanders would ultimately choose to cut police in order to save parks and to save other programs. So I really appreciate that reframing from Councillor Avalos. And I also want to say that there were further surveys done at all of our budget town halls that were held by the city budget office. And those reflected the same thing. So it's not just self-selected groups of people who are coming and attending our community events. It's also people who didn't go to those events and who were randomly surveyed. And I think that we also need to remind everyone that we are not cutting police. They were given additional funding that no other bureau was given. So when we're talking about this like defunding police as if though it's very dramatic, no, we're not. We're holding them to the same standard that every other bureau is being held to, as they're having to make really brutal and devastating cuts that will impact our employees and the services that we offer. I also think that we can't just cut parks or other services because these are all part of community safety. I know when I worked as an anti-hunger policy advocate before coming here, the amount of families that we talked to where their 11-year-olds were in line at a church waiting to get a can of food, who would end up being recruited into gangs because they had no other support structures. If they don't have their community needs met, if they don't have a strong family structure, if they don't have food, if they don't have services, if they don't have education, that is a lack of public safety as well. And that's the way that I'm going to be looking at this budget. And I think that a lot of the criticisms that our staff have received as far as not getting us certain pieces of information, I want to revisit with the Finance Committee next year, because the reality is that the communication flow that we've had as counselors between us and staff has been really difficult because of the structures of how we are able to receive information when it comes from the top people at the city budget office to DCAs, to everyone having to have a chain of command. That makes it really hard for us to talk with experts at the bureaus. And I think that we need to revisit those systems and how they're working for us, because we have a lot of really talented and intelligent people at the city, and I feel like we weren't able to get a lot of this information until now. So I just wanted to say my piece on both of those issues and appreciate the time.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Smith, are you back in the queue?
Yes, I am back in the queue.
We are at time, but if it's quick, go right ahead.
It is very quick. And I just wanted to say on that survey that you all are talking about, everything except District 1. District 1 said public safety is number 1. So I want to make clear that it was not citywide. And I think District 4 too. So I think we need to understand the facts or have someone come in and give us a presentation on that so we're clear on what the community wants.
Colleagues, I see folks getting in the queue. We are at time, and I know we have a couple of folks trying to make it to other things tonight and one colleague who just had to leave. So I think I'm going to close us up. I apologize. Thank you all for being here today. We appreciate the information. I know you sat through a lot of comments that weren't directed toward you, but there were also a lot of good pieces of information we were able to gain. We will be back next week, colleagues, for more budget work. With that, I will close tonight's work session.